Chapter 41, CH 39, Shago collected. You can talk the talk, Shago smiled, quickly attacking with fists clad in green energy, but can you walk dash, but had the air knocked out of her when Ego punched her in the guts. No remorse whatsoever. As she bent over gasping for air, he kneed her in the face, causing her to straighten up before headbutting her. As she staggered back, he grabbed her by the neck before slamming her into the ground, causing her to bounce a time or two before lying on the ground and groaning. Walk the walk. He chuckled, leisurely walking towards her as she struggled to get up. Sweetheart, I run the walk. Before kicking her in the guts, sending her sliding back. Squatting beside her, he nonchalantly tilted his head. So? Are you satisfied with the hands of your soon-to-be boss, Darkling? Groaning with face in the dirt, she weakly gave a thumbs up. Gee, glad to be on board, boss, huh? Before her hand fell limp. Ego chuckled as he patted her head. Take a rest. You need it. We'll deal with the paperwork afterwards. Hearing rapid footsteps, he smirked. About time. Looking back, he saw the hero who was supposed to deal with Draken, Kim, and her sidekick, Ron, and his sidekick, Rufus. Oh, whoa, what happened here? Ron exclaimed when he saw the destruction. The place was an ancient ruin, but things were just destroyed in the space they were. Kim's eyes landed on the destroyed robot, there. Alistair smiled leisurely. About time you all showed up. Before humming curiously, no wait, how did you show up so quickly all the way to Rome? I messaged you just a few minutes ago. You sure you don't have a teleportation device or something? Walking up to him, they looked at the villains in surprise. Ron voiced his excitement at meeting Alistair. Ego again. Whoa, Alistair, did you do this? AMHM. You took care of them all by yourself? Well, technically. That's so cool. How did you do it? Wait, no, don't tell me. I want to see it in the new episode of Predator and Savior myself. It will be in the episode, right? Ha 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 ha, of course it will. I'll post it in a few hours. Kim was about to say something, but immediately blushed at his smirk. Hey, Kimmy. What's up? You doing alright? Yeah. She rubbed her arm shyly, her body heating up by just being around him. I'm alright. Ha 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 ha, glad to hear that. He winked seductively. After all, we did have a lot of fun. I was worried you'd be too spent and tired. Ron looked confused. Huh? What kind of a date did you two have to tire KP of all people? Alistair gave a dopey smile. Oh, you know. The good old tapping the boo dash, but Kim quickly covered his mouth. Nothing. We just thought it would be a good idea to exercise. Yeah, just exercise together. You know, so I could teach him a thing of two as someone who's been doing this for a lot longer. Exercise? His muffled chuckle came, causing her to glare. Yes, exercise. Shaking his head in amusement, he shrugged. Yeah, we exercised. Before licking her fingers and making her jump hard at that. Blushing intensely, she backed away. Her legs feeling a little weak from his gaze. Anyway, we should take care of these two now. Indeed we should. He hummed, picking up the unconscious Shago and throwing her over his shoulder like a sack of potatoes. A very sexy sack of potatoes. Don't sexualize potatoes now though. The feeling of her thick thighs against him was amazing, and he had to put effort into holding his hand back from groping a feel. Now, Alistair. You can't sexually harass your employee. That's no. What are you doing? Kim raised an eyebrow. He shrugged. Carrying my unconscious employee/sidekick? Duh. Sidekick? They exclaimed, even the naked mole rat, Shago. He smiled in amusement. You three have a pretty interesting synergy. Ron and Rufus smiled. You think so? While Kim was filled with disbelief. Don't change the subject. What are you talking about? Ego shrugged. Well, I thought since every decent superhero has a sidekick, I would get myself one too. But I have pretty high standards, not gonna lie, so I had that plan on hold until now. And who better than the hottie who can generate energy and plasma, am I right? She's hot and amazing? I was sold the moment I saw her. Ron, Not gonna lie, he does have a pretty good point. Kim, Ron? Ego smirked. Right. Kim, Alistair. You can't just hire a villain. Ego, of course I can. The only thing left is the paperwork. Kim, and no, I meant, you know what I mean. She's a criminal. A villain, for gosh sakes. You can't just hire a villain. Ego crossed his arms as he leaned to his side, causing Shago on his shoulder to shake and have her ass rub against his face slightly. And who decided that? Which he loved immensely but didn't show it. Kim, common sense. Duh. She needs to be put in jail. Ego, as if that is a permanent solution. Need I remind you just how many times that has happened, but she has broken out? Kim, ei? Well, Ego sighed, listen Kimmy, I understand your point. He patted her shoulder and she concentrated on ignoring the warmth of his large hand, but how about you think of this as me just monitoring her? You know it better yourself, being the hero that deals with her and all, that Shago can't exactly be kept in a prison for long. But what if she's being monitored by me? She won't be able to commit any crimes, and by being with me she'll have to help out in fighting villains and helping people. Don't you think that's a very better solution than throwing her into prison just to have her break out of it later on? And there's even a chance that she'll turn into a good guy later on and help people by herself. Kim looked thoughtful, not disregarding his solution, but also reluctant to agree. Well, that does sound good, but still, what do you think, Ron? Ron smiled, honestly, I think that's the best idea ever. But wait, Alistair, I thought Ben was your sidekick? Or the other way around? Ego chuckled, shaking his head, Ben isn't my sidekick, he's his own superhero and a partner I can rely on. Sidekick is someone who sticks with you at all times, and we're not like that, as you can see. Who knows when me and Ben might go our separate ways when I want to explore the universe. And besides, Ben already has his own sidekick. Ron, really? Who? Ego, who else but Gwen? She's pretty awesome in her own right, you know? And who knows when she'll get a power-up to help Ben. Ron, you, his cousin? Well, there was that episode where she actually beat up Dr. Onemo's giant bird, so I guess that makes sense. Then there's Grandpa Max too, the coolest character ever. Ego chuckled, you've got that right. So? Kim? What do you think? Groaning to herself, she gave up with a sigh, oh, whatever. Alright, you can keep her. Causing him to smile brightly, yay. Don't worry, I'll feed her and take care of her properly. What is she, your pet? She pouted, before quickly stopping when she saw his mischievous grin, causing her to blush. You know what, don't answer that. As he snickered to himself, she pushed her hair behind her ear shyly, but there's a condition if you want her to stay with you. Clearing her dry throat, she handed over her personal phone, why you need to update me on her behavior on the daily. Ego looked at her with mild surprise, before smirking, are you asking for my number right now? Causing her blush to intensify, no. I told you, it's just for keeping an eye on her. Chuckling at her antics, he grabbed her phone and saved his number, as adorable as always. Making her restrain a smile at the compliment as he handed back her phone, I'll call you later then. She coughed with a nod, taking her phone and trying to hide her excitement as she looked down at the saved number, Daddy Bigus Diku's heartsuit. Face heating up like a volcano, she quickly turned it off before Ron could see. Laughing loudly at her reaction, Ego began to walk away after absorbing the Draken's robot into the Techtrix. Smell ya later, guys. As he left and Kim opened her phone to change his name, Ron quickly tried to look at her phone. Oh, did he actually give his number? Did he? She quickly hid her phone, pushing him away. Give me some space so I can take a look. Making him frown. Geez, what's with you? Nothing. She quickly changed his name to Alistair, before hesitating and changing it shyly again, Heartsuit Alistair Heartsuit, and giggling cutely to herself. Ron and Rufus looked at each before shrugging with smirks. Guess we got ourselves some teasing material, Rufus. With the naked rat nodding, yeah. 1. Charmcaster/Hope. 2. Kim Possible. 3. Both. Making his way to the exit of the catacombs, Ego smirked. So since when are you going to pretend to be unconscious? When he didn't receive a response, he delivered a slap to her fat ass. As your boss, I expect an answer when I ask you something. Ouch. Shago flinched, rubbing her stinging cheek as she glared at the back of his head. And I expect to not be sexually harassed, boss. He chuckled. Sorry, seriously couldn't help myself anymore. Kind of hard to contain myself when I'm holding such a sexy and gorgeous woman. With a huff, she put her cheek on her palm. Rolling her eyes with a smile. Fine, you're forgiven just this once. But don't think you'll be able to sweet talk your way out every time, mister. You'd be surprised at how wrong you are. Whatever. Are you planning to put me down anytime soon? Let me think about it. Done thinking, nah. I like this position. Well, I don't. It's uncomfortable. Then how about this? Moving her smoothly, he upgraded her method of moving to Princess Carrie. You like this instead? She did. But would she be Shago if she didn't retort with a smirk? I still like walking more. Earning a chuckle as Ego winked. Sorry, Han, but you gotta get used to things like this, 'cause I like spoiling the people around me. Ha, guess I got lucky for once with a boss. That you did, Shago. That you did. Chapter 42, CH40, Eve the Nightmare E6 Ishago you traitor. Draken struggled against the hold of the officers. How can you betray me and join somebody else after all I've done for you? After the whole ordeal in the ruins, Eve and Shago had stuck around to ensure he was arrested. Excuses, of course. Eve just wanted to see Draken's face as they took away his sidekick. Ever the sadist. At Draken's remark, Shago raised an annoyed eyebrow. Excuse me. You have given me anything? Stomping towards her, she angrily poked his chest repeatedly. You have given me nothing, mister. In fact, I'm the one who has given you so much. I'm the one who got you where you are. You think you'd be where you are without me? Newsflash, no you wouldn't. Ugh, the number of things I've done for you are so freaking many that it would take me the entire and then some to name them all. The number of heists, the number of fights and everything I've completely flawlessly have been all for naught, because why? Because of your stupidity. Your plan always fails and it's not because of some hero, it's because you're just useless. God, you're so stupid that remembering all the times I've suffered the consequences of your stupidity gives me a headache. It's a miracle that I've stayed with you for so long. But you know what? You know what? It's over. I've had enough of your bullshit plans that never succeed. I've had enough of your bullshit when you blame me for your failures. And I sure as hell have had enough of your blue fucking face. Gotham. Everybody in the scene thought. Girl really had enough of his bullshit, huh? Maybe she didn't clarify enough though, she could do some more. Poor Draken looked flabbergasted. Man actually looked heartbroken. But I thought we were a team. But she rolled her eyes. Yeah, we're a team. But guess what? I'm out. I'm tired of being unappreciated and working for someone who's just a big-time bully rather than a villain. And you chose them? Draken's cuffed hands pointed at the evil duo. They're literally heroes. You're complaining about me not being evil enough and then you're choosing some goody two-shoes hero. Do they look evil to you at all? They'll probably wet themselves at the sight of blood. Eve, who was smiling sadistically, had his eyes widened, something seeming to be snapping behind those gorgeous yet insane orbs. Ego tightened his lips, clicking his tongue as he hissed and looked away. Shouldn't have said that. You should not have said that. While the former partners looked at him with confusion, Eve tilted his head curiously with a smile, but his eyes didn't share the same smile. Oh, I'm not evil. I'm not evil, huh? I'm not evil? I'll show you evil, you overgrown smurf. Raising his right hand, he pointed the Tectrix at Draken as it glowed. Everybody panicked and Shago even jumped away. But only Ego knew that Eve was way too petty to just kill someone who annoyed him. Before anybody could do anything, a red beam was fired at Draken, who covered his face in fear. But when nothing happened, no wound, no nothing, everybody looked surprised. Eve? What did you do? Kim looked concerned, especially at the maniacal smile that graced Eve's face as he stared at the mad scientist. Oh, nothing much. It's just that since this blue shit wanted to see how evil I am, I decided to change his physiology so his foreskin would grow indefinitely from now on, and he would need to trim it every 2 days. A/N, Draken be like, shouldn't have said that. I should not have said that. Ron and Rufus passed out. The horrendous fate was too much. Everybody else looked terrified too, especially the guys. Even Shago, a literal villain, looked disturbed and shocked. How's that for evil, huh, Doc? Eve laughed mockingly. Is that evil enough for your standards? Or do you want me to do more? You want that? Huh? How about I make it so you have taste buds in your asshole from now on? Or better yet, why don't I just make it so you shit out your nose from now on instead? Or should I just go ahead and give you stage 4 testicular cancer, huh? What do you think? Before he could let the world know any more of what was inside of his head, nothing but insanity, chaos and unhingedness, Ego covered his mouth and dragged him away. All right, I think that's enough trauma in one episode. Let's go, Shago, before this guy runs loose again. Intrigued but genuinely concerned about what would happen, she quickly followed him away. All while Eve's pissed-off shouts were muffled by Ego's hand. A/N, yeah, how did you know that I wrote this entire part to show Eve's cruelty because I forgot to do it in the previous chapter where they actually fought? And you haven't seen anything yet, lol. Episode 6. Ahahaha, sorry boss, but this is finally my win. Shago laughed haughtily, ordering the little holographic Yu-Gi-Oh monsters on the table. Go, Blue Eyes. Attack his white horned dragon and finish this duel for me. As the small holographic Blue Eyes white dragon, which just seemed like a real monster, but a small one, charged up his attack, Alistair, smirked, making Shago flinch. Grabbing his set card, he flipped it over. Sorry, but you've activated my trap card. laughing aloud proudly at her face, dried of all joy in life upon seeing the card, Mirror Force. No! Veins popped on her face, you goddamn son of a. Fingers flexing into daggers, she bit her lip harshly as her monsters were obliterated by their own attack. Mwahahaha. Is that all you've got? He laughed tauntingly, a hand beside his mouth like an arrogant princess. I think I should make a training game so you can improve your skills, because this is too easy. Mwahahaha. Shago trembled with rage, why you? But he continued laughing, what are you angry you've lost? Mwahahaha, I thought you would have improved by now. After, bragging about how easy this game would be and quickly you'd win against me. Ha 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 ha, guess you talked the talk, but couldn't walk the walk. Mwahahaha. You bastard. She launched at him, hands clad in green energy as she tried to rip him to pieces after all the mental trauma she had put him through. Yeah, Mirror Force would do that to you. Especially after how many times she had experienced running into it. Looking smug as hell, Alistair's own hands lit up in red as he grabbed her hands, stopping her as their fingers intertwined. Trying as hard as she could to push him back, but failing miserably, she could only get angrier at his smirk. What, can't take a loss, my dear sidekick? Too much of a loser. Gwen watched the two bicker. She knew Alistair had a talent for riling people up, but she was seriously beginning to pity Shago. There was a reason why Gwen herself hadn't gotten into his favorite game after all. Alistair had a lot of sportsmanship, but it would be a lie to say he wouldn't tease his opponents. It would always be friendly mockery, but it was annoying nonetheless. Ignoring the superhero and sidekick, she turned to her cousin. Her amazing cousin who made her question if they were blood-related. Ebleeg. Ben, with his face smashed against the window, made faces to the kid in the car driving next to them. Who also made some disgusting faces back. Gwen smirked, I'd warn you that your face might freeze like that, but in your case, it would be an improvement. Causing Alistair, who was always sharp-eared for roasts, to laugh, damn, Benji, you got cooked. Ben glared at them, but his attention was pulled by the boy who ate a whole-ass sandwich before turning and showing everything in his mouth. Even Ben looked disgusted, and that was saying something, ugh, man, the seafood special. But smirked, time to pull out the secret weapon. Ducking from the window, Shago face-bombed as Ben turned into Stinkfly. Stopping the fight to be grateful, thank God I got the more mature one of the two. As mature as that is anyway. Stinkfly smashed his face against the window again, making faces that looked much more horrifying than before. But unlike what he had expected, instead of looking scared or grossed out, the boy's eyes lit up. He told his father to look as well. Who, upon doing so, looked amazed as well. Although looking a bit disgusted and worried as well. Stinkfly deadpanned. That didn't go as planned. Alistair hummed on the side, it's a useless detail that I remember, but he was supposed to be disgusted in this episode, right? I guess revealing our identities will cause changes like this in the future. The alien didn't look bothered, however. Instead, he waved at the family with a smile that, although looked slightly disgusting, still showed his friendliness. He even gave a peace sign when the boy opted to take a picture. Not like he could do anything else with his 3 fingers. Boys, better get up here. Max suddenly hit the brakes, causing them to jolt. Coming to his side, he spotted Stinkfly. Oh good, you're all ready to go. We got trouble ahead. Looking ahead, they saw that an oil tanker truck had crashed into a large truck, with a fire already starting and the oil spilling closer and closer towards it. A/N, America, did somebody just say? Oil? Help! The tank truck driver struggled to open the door, but to no avail. A passerby pointed out in panic, the door's stuck. He can't get out. A/N, bro, that's one terrifying situation to be in. Stuck and can only await your doom. No, I'm not talking about the porn situation. Help! Alistair heard his cries of help with his heightened senses. Max frowned seriously, if that propane he's hauling catches fire, that truck will become a rocket to the moon. And not on our watch it won't. The Noirette frowned, come on, Ben. Let's get cookin'. Running outside, he nodded at Stinkfly, I'll take care of the driver, you take care of the fire. On it. He gave a thumbs up before taking off. Alistair himself transformed with a red flash, ultimate ventriloquist. Loving the fact that the evolution of his predators gave them the ability to speak, before he jumped into his own shadow and made the darkness move at an incredible speed. A/N, since I have no way of getting pictures for their ultimate appearances, just consider the ultimate forms of predators with minor adjustments. Like how Big Chill literally just turns red from blue. Evolved ventriloquism, ventriloquist, wrath. Ultimate form. Enhanced condition. Darkness manipulation applications. Darkness teleportation. Darkness solidification. Animated shadow. Darkness adaptation. Night vision. Darkness attacks. Darkness imprisonment. Darkness solidification. Shadow consumption. Shadow generation. Pressure point manipulation applications. Blood pressure manipulation. Bodily aspect enhancement. Bodily attribute augmentation. Curing. Damage manipulation. Deformation manipulation. Mutilation. Foreign forces removal. Healing. Impurity destruction. Internal rupturing. Life force inhibition. Life preservation. Mental inducement. Motor skill manipulation. Nerve manipulation. Pain manipulation. Pain inducement. One-hit kill. Death inducement. Paralysis inducement. Body immobilization. Weakness strike. A/N, in case you haven't noticed, that pressure point manipulation is literally Omi wa Maushindiru. You are already dead. Moving through the shadows he created with his ultimate form's new abilities, he moved past the flames effortlessly before arriving next to the truck while Stinkfly took care of the fire with his spit. His claw emerged from his shadow before piercing through the door, grabbing it and pulling it right out.
Aeon.
The man backed away in fear, making ventriloquist frown. Why are you running? His claw immediately moving to grab his leg. Why are you running? Snickering to himself, he pulled the man in to join him in his shadow before quickly getting him away. Taking him to safety, he emerged to see the fire had been dealt with. With Stinkfly smiling brightly and giving a thumbs up. He chuckled, giving a thumbs up back. Gotta take care of this completely though. Turning into Ultimate Winter, he froze the fuel tank completely so no more issues would arise. Chapter 43, CH41, Sparksville, E6, another job well done. Alistair hummed with a smile, entering the trailer attached to the RV which he had personally built with Ultimate Tinkerer, with Shago following behind him. A/N, you have no fucking idea how much I searched to find out that thing's trailer name. His eyes landing on his precious pet, he immediately squatted and played with Tigress's fluffy cheeks, cooing in a baby voice. Ah, if it isn't my darling Tigress. Did you just woke up from your nap? Tigress, who had stopped resisting already and had opted to enjoy the spoiling, chuffed with a smile. Enjoying the petting as he gently licked Alistair's hand, making his heart melt. Oh my god. You're so freaking adorable. Alistair hugged him tightly, shaking him fondly in his arms. Tigress, who would struggle in the past, simply enjoyed the attention instead. Going as far as to put his paws on Alistair and moving with him, even Shago, who was always prone to banters and sarcastic remarks, couldn't help but pet the blue tiger. Seriously, nothing about you is ordinary. You're so weird. You've got a supernatural tiger as a pet and a villain as a sidekick. Oh well, weird doesn't always mean bad. He sighed deeply in fulfillment after getting his hourly feel of fluff. Lifting his face off of Tigress's fur, he smirked up at Shago, and besides, what's weird about me collecting amazing individuals? My pet is a literal walking lucky charm that can affect the laws of probability, and my sidekick is an amazing sexy woman with superpowers who would definitely become the greatest villain to humanity if she wasn't content with just being a sidekick. I believe it would be weird if I didn't get you two on my side, no? As if the world demanded it, the trailer suddenly shook when it ran over a bump sharply, causing Alistair, who was kneeling on one leg, to lose his balance and fall. Fall towards Shago's crotch. Alistair's shock turned into a smirk. Ah, I knew I made the right choice with Tigress. Feeling his face smash right against her crotch, his nose coincidentally hitting her clit, her legs buckled as she yelped in surprise. He enjoyed the moment to its fullest, before he quickly moved away before she could prepare to attack. A/N, I'm in urgent need of a blue tiger, you know? Wearing a dopey smile, he looked at the blushing and glaring Shago. See? The benefits of getting the Lucky Charm tiger are already showing. So, standing up, he towered over her. Were my decisions right? Or wrong? She glared with a blush, before giving up with a huff. You're the super genius, so why ask me? Alistair shook his head. Now I wouldn't say that. You're pretty smart for yourself. Walking over to the desk with the latest projects he was working on, resting on it, he sat on his chair and put his feet on the table comfortably. Why else would I leave the editing of our episodes to you? Fair enough, I guess. She shrugged, walking to sit on the couch in the house/workshop. So? What are we gonna do now? I'm bored. I honestly wanted to ask you that. I don't feel like making anything and don't have anything else to do either. Any suggestions for two superpowered individuals? Ugh. I hate times like this. She laid down on the couch in annoyance. It's like there's nothing to do in the world. Do you even know any activities besides, committing crimes? Yeah, duh. The problem is we can't do any of those while on the road. No shopping, no beaches to go, no nothing. I was talking more in the lines of indoor activities. Have you ever played video games? AHM? Like those on PlayStation or computers? Do I look like a kid to you? Alistair's eyes widened as he quickly grabbed his right hand before it could move on its own. No, calm down. Calm down, yes, calm down. Phew, my slap a bitch hand was about to move on its own. No, I must correct this blasphemous mindset. No sidekick of mine can insult games in such a manner. Taking a deep breath, he calmed himself down. Crazy or not, he was a good boss. And instead of getting mad or belittling his employees, he would correct them gently like a good boss would do. So instead of arguing, he was going to show her the wonders of games instead. Getting up, he moved to the large TV and PlayStation the couch was facing. Well, how about you see if it's for children by having a match against me in football? You mean soccer? I'll actually hit you. It's not like I said anything wrong. It's commonly known as soccer in the US. Well, you can suck on these nuts. Anyway, it's football or your salary is reduced this month. Huff, you're so unreasonable at the most stupid things. Fine, it's football. They're happy? Asterisk smiling asterisk very much so. Now let's start playing. Taking 2 wireless controllers to the couch, he handed one to her. Not willing to sit up, she moved her legs so he could sit before placing her legs on his thighs. So are you going to teach me how to work with these or not? Alright, so this is after teaching her everything, they were finally ready to play. With Alistair choosing Barcelona for himself and Real Madrid for Shago. A/N, the good old times where you could choose the goats in their own rightful places. Damn, do I miss the past. But as the game started, Shago's eyes widened. Whoa, hold on. Video game graphics aren't supposed to be like this, right? What she was looking at wasn't pixelated moving figures, but actual people, as if she was moving characters in a film. Alistair smirked. Darling, as a gamer, you wouldn't have expected me to work on destructive weapons and ignore my actual joy, video games, right? Once a gamer, always a gamer. If the games weren't to his standards, he would make them fit his standards. Who cared about super destructive weapons and robots? He would rather upgrade games. And that's what he did. The graphics he was looking at weren't even in his previous life. They were literally playing with graphics that were like the real world. He smirked proudly. This is what intelligence should be used for. Damn, boss. You'd make it big as a game developer. Like holy crap. Actually, I was thinking of that. I do need an actual fun hobby after all. And making entire games is gonna be a hobby? If for me, making the best games wouldn't even take a week. On that note, please work on buying a video game publisher company named Ubisoft. Since I'm at this day and age, I might as well work on saving some franchises that were ruined too. Forget about people, just Assassin's Creed is worth the entire humanity. Do we have enough budget for it? Wait, how is that not a foul? You basically broke my player's leg. Don't worry, I should have enough money after mass-producing the cure for cancer. Also, as you just saw, I hit the ball. Not the player. Fine, then I'll look into it. Wait, why is mine a foul then? Wait, a yellow card. You fucking with me? You definitely must have rigged this game. No longer comfortable with just laying down, she sat down and concentrated on the game while Alistair chuckled. Yeah, keep telling yourself that. I'm definitely kicking your ass. Oh come on, goalkeeper. How didn't he catch that? I think we're not going to be bored anymore. Oh hey, tigress. He welcomed the tiger that came to join them. As he laid down on Alistair's lap comfortably, they continued their game. Finally reaching their destination, they waited for Max to excitedly open the RV's door. Now, all of you, close your eyes. Closing them, they walked out before Max spoke again. Okay, open them up. Their eyes opened, curious to see what Max had hyped them up so much for. Ta-da! Max exclaimed, but the view wasn't as exciting as he believed it to be. Welcome to Sparksville. The ground deadpanned. Even tigress. The place was basically a ghost town. They couldn't even see anybody. The only sounds that were heard besides them was the cawing of a random crow. That didn't seem to be what Max thought, however. He looked super excited. Is this place great or what? Shago looked around in confusion, more like does this place even have anybody living in it or what? Ben, I'll go with a or what a. With both questions. Max, come on. What's more exciting than the world's biggest fish ball? All of them, everything. Shago groaned, please tell me this is a joke. My and Alistair's competition was not interrupted in its crucial moment for this? Alistair smirked, yeah, the crucial moment of me scoring the 10th goal while barely into the second half. Shago was about to retort, but a man in blue suit, wearing the same blank expressions as Null but even blanker, interrupted them. As the mayor of Sparksville, I welcome you seekers of wonder. It's a pleasure to welcome the two most famous superheroes, the Predator and the Savior, to our humble town. Also, please be careful of the blue tiger. Although he said so, his face didn't change at all. It was alright, max enough excitement for the both of them. I know you guys are probably excited to see it, so I'll go check us in. Handing Alistair 4 tickets before walking away. Sighing in defeat, Shago hit the road. Alright, let's see what this town has in store for us. The three of them and Tigress quickly followed her, with Alistair smiling. Come on, it could have some kind of surprise for us. Oh, don't you start with that now. I mean, come on. Look at this place. When you think of Iboringi, you think of this place. Alistair chuckled, patting her shoulder. Believe me, you just need to leave it to Ben and Gwen to make some exciting chaos. Ben blames Gwen, hey. Alistair smirked. Wanna bet on whether they'll create some major-ass problem by tomorrow? Alright, I'm in. You'll buy me a sandwich if you lose. Deal. And you'll buy me some chili fries. Deal. But seriously though, you've been eating a lot of chili fries lately. Patting his abs, you might get fat before you know it if you're not careful. The peak of a race does not get fat, woman. Also, they're kind of addictive, so I can't help it. You mind sharing some of that peak human DNA with us so I wouldn't need to worry about my figure? Sorry, but there can only be one peak of humanity, and that's yours truly. Oh, piss off. Tomorrow came, and lo and behold, Alistair's prophecy came true. While they were sleeping in the upside-down bed stuck to the walls, Max's confused and concerned voice woke them up. What the heck happened here? A/N, those beds look uncomfortable as fuck, NGL. While Alistair and Shago woke up calmly, groaning from their bad sleeping position, Ben and Gwen fell straight down in panic. With the latter of the two whispering to her cousin in panic, yeah, he knows everything. We are so busted. We have to come clean and tell Grandpa everything. Ben rolled his eyes, whispering quietly so the other two wouldn't hear. Sometimes it's hard to believe you're really a kid. Never admit anything until you absolutely have to. Got it. Benjamin, Gwendolyn, get out here. Max's voice came, causing Alistair to smirk at the duo. Whatever you two did, you're screwed, because full names were just used. Chapter 44, CH42, a new pet, Zap E6 Alright, Tigress, Daddy's gotta go take care of some messes. Alistair stroked the sleepy Tigress's head as it chuffed in reply. Walking outside after leisurely doing his morning routine, including taking a short shower, Alistair saw a scene of carnage. The city, for what it was worth, was in shambles. The buildings were trashed and the cars were ruined. Although it wasn't like the city wasn't wiped out, it was like one dangerous tornado had passed through without anybody noticing. You sure took your sweet time. Shago barked out when she caught sight of him. Turning to look, he saw her fighting the electric little menace with Ben. Or at least trying to, because damn, the thing didn't stay in one place. Alistair smirked. Hey, I gotta look 100% photogenic 24/7. Skipping on being clean and proper is out of the question. Yeah, she growled, but shouted in pain when a bolt of electricity zapped her back. Growling and gritting her teeth, she furiously searched for the Nosodinian, also known as Megawatt. God damn it, just pray that I don't get my hands on you, you electric piece of shit. Swinging her energy-clad hands around as it bolted around her just to annoy her even more. Laughing loudly while doing so, which just served to make her even angrier. God damn it, why doesn't this little jerk stay still? Forearms, with veins on his face, threw punches around. He didn't seem much better than Shago. Alistair snickered quietly. It was obvious that the little menace had gone above and beyond on messing with the two. Looking around, he could also see that Ben had put an effort into getting the job done, despite not succeeding. He saw the shards of Diamond Head shot around, stinkflies spit here and there, areas burnt because of heat blasts, flames, and a messed up street and walls thanks to his other aliens. Right, poor Ben doesn't have an alien that can deal with something like that yet. Honestly, any alien would have a hard time dealing with that thing, considering it's literally a living battery. Speaking of the little menace, it suddenly popped up next to Alistair. Looking at him curiously, moving around him and studying the newcomer, before breaking into mischievous laughter at getting another person to prank. Unidentified DNA detected, proceeding to scanning. New alien and predator DNA unlocked, Nosodinian and continence phylum. But as the Nemetrix beeped, catching the megawatt's attention, he smirked evilly. Ben doesn't have an appropriate alien, but I do. Continens phylum. This species swallows nosodinian alive and uses them as a power source until drained. This predator cannot live without that energy, so when it drains a nosodinian it must automatically hunt another or it will die. With a blinding light that made the megawatt cover its eyes, Alistair transformed, ultimate discharge. Turning into the evolved species of feedback, the now orange and black alien, with arms and a tendril seeming to be made out of thick wires, with the tendril actually being several tendrils circling each other have giant clamps at the end, flashed a giant grin with his arms crossed. Oh, yeah, I was getting hungry anyway. Image. Evolved conductoid abilities. Plaque tendrils. Sharp clamps. Electromagnetic cuffs. The metallic nodes on his body have transformed into electromagnetic cuffs, that he can either unite them or separate them to subdue enemies. Battery packs can store excess energy into various sizes of energy packs, built from his hip nodes. Applications. Batteries. Energy storage. Explosive bombs. EMP bombs. Blackout blitz. Mass absorbs all the light particle photons from the area, creating a temporary blind spot of darkness. Seeing the new alien, the megawatt smiled in defiance. Ready to mess him up too. But ultimate discharge, not in the mood to bully a small alien, simply pointed one of his fingers at it. Sorry, lil fella, but I've got better things to do than amuse a little shit like you. Suddenly, in a split second, all of the megawatt's energy was absorbed by ultimate discharge. Although his abilities hadn't changed, they had skyrocketed in efficiency. It took only a few moments for the megawatt to lose all its energy, causing it to wobble in the air before descending slowly. Yawning tiredly as ultimate discharge grabbed it gently and let it sleep in his arms. Heh, little menace. Oh well, I already have a damn tiger. Who said I can't keep a living battery too? I'll call you. Tap. Yeah, let's go with something simple. He was pulled out of his thoughts when he saw Shago and Forearms stomping towards him. Bloodshot eyes set on Zap, who was finally staying in one place. Oh whoa whoa. Chill out. He quickly shielded him from the two, his clamps snapping threateningly at the two. Don't even think about hurting Zap. Shago's angry eyes widened. What? Zap? You're keeping that thing. Forearms backing her up. You can't be serious, Al. That thing's on another level of annoying. Ultimate discharge looked at them blankly. Yeah? Then what do you propose I do? Leave this alien to roam around by himself? Or what, should I hand him to the government to probably run tests on him? Well. Forearms went quiet, but Shago didn't care. I don't care what happens to it. Yes, thanks for elaborating. I just know that I can't handle that thing annoying me 24/7. Ultimate discharge. Oh come on, he's not that bad. You can handle Ben. Zap isn't that much different. Forearms. Hey. Shago. Ben stays out after a glare. This thing gets even more riled up after a glare. Ultimate discharge. Look, I get you, alright? But let's just give Zap a chance. The reason why it was so violent is probably because it was sealed for so long. Wouldn't you get excited if you were in his shoes too? Shago crossed her arms. Ugh, just say you won't take no for an answer. Ultimate discharge smiled awkwardly. I mean, yeah, I won't. But still, I want you to know the reason why, since you're my right-hand woman. Will you give him a chance? Transforming back, he smiled sweetly, giving her the puppy dog eyes. Please? For me. Shago flinched when she saw his eyes, her annoyance fading as she gritted in reluctance. God damn it, stop it with that look. But looking at his pleading eyes and sweet smile combined with his handsome face, she gave up with a sigh in the end. Oh, whatever. It's not like I can win this argument anyway. Yes. Alistair smiled brightly, coming to her side to nudge her gently. Come on, don't look so down. Zap will make a fine addition to our team. He will liven up things every day if we're bored. And besides, if he gets too excited, I can just put him to sleep like this. Allrecht. She gave up with a sigh, causing him to smile. Thanks, Shago. You're the best sidekick ever. Making her smile. Glad you already know. While everybody else was in the rust bucket, with Zap getting to know the others, acting a lot calmer after Alistair having a talk with him, Alistair walked into his trailer. Techtrix, how's what I asked you to do? The high-tech computers and holographic came to life, along with Techtrix's beautiful and mature voice. He really did have a thing for sexy British accents, huh? I'm still running the calculations, sir. I haven't found what you've asked to do yet. Is that so? Not surprising, I guess. Well, work on it for now and notify me if you find anything. Understood, sir. By the way, would you like to give this task a name? A name, sure. Let's call it. Alistair smirked, looking at the holographic image of a silver sword floating in the air, Project Ascalon. Chapter 45, CH 43, Kevin Levan, E7, wow, this hotel has everything. Gwen smiled excitedly while they were checking in for the hotel, indoor pool, full-day spa. Shago, wearing casual but high-brand black pants, a green shirt and cropped black jacket, smirked as she pushed her sunglasses onto her hair. Of course, a girl gotta have a nice place to stay in. Did you really think I wouldn't pick a good hotel to stay in? Gwen gave a giant grin. You're the best, Shago. High-fiving her as Max smiled at the two. Now don't get used to it. It's only for one night. Shago looked at Alistair, who was leaning back on the reception desk, looking all photogenic for the photos people were taking. Hey, boss, couldn't you make I don't know, make it so the trailer would have a bigger space for these things too? Like expanding the space inside of it while it looked the same from the outside? The Noirette gave her a blank look. I think you're confusing science with magic, Shago. Shago smirked in challenge. You mean you can't do it? Ha, fine, I'll get it done. He rolled his eyes in defeat, making the girls high-five as Ben turned to him. Whoa, you can actually do that? He shrugged. I can make teleportation devices that could send me to the edge of the universe. Why wouldn't I be able to do something as simple as making a device that deforms the fabric of space? Ben gave him an unamused look. Maybe you could make a device that makes real-life subtitles before that. Alistair smirked, ruffling his hair harshly. Getting better at bantering, huh, you little weasel? Be careful of what you learn from me. As Ben pushed his hand away playfully, Tigress demanded for food with a chuff. The Noirette smiled, scratching his head. We'll be done in a minute, bud. Just have some patience. The blue tiger groaned, but otherwise calmed down. Looking around, he spotted the mischievous Zap flying everywhere, waving at the people who looked at him in marvel. He smiled in amusement. Zap truly was like an energetic kid. Teach him some manners and he'll learn to liven up the mood rather than ruin it. He was even taking selfies with some people. Alistair looked down at Tigress, who was still enjoying his headpats. Wanna enjoy the glory too, T? Can be fun. But being the grumpy cat that he was, he just leaned against him instead with a growl, melting his heart. Ah, I wanna just stay with you too, T. Spotting something, Ben began to run towards a guarded area. Ho ho. The new Sumo Slammer video game is in there. But a hand got in his way. Looking up, he saw a bald guard smiling awkwardly. I'm sorry, Savior, but only VIPs who have the pass can go in. Guess fame had a lot of effect on people's behavior, huh? Ben grinned at the treatment when a hand landed on his shoulder. Here you go. Looking up, he saw Alistair hand over a card to the guard. Can my little buddy go in now? The guard stepped aside. Please enjoy your stay here. Ben raised a surprised eyebrow. When did you get this pass? Alistair smirked. When Shago was looking up this hotel, I saw that it had the Sumo Slammer video game that hasn't been released yet. So I purchased the pass online so you could play it when we got here. You're welcome. Ben looked as if he was looking at a divine being. You're the best, Al. Smiling excitedly, he ran towards the game room. Chuckling in amusement, he walked back. Some plots are better changed. Walking up to the others, he saw Max smiling. You're a really considerate friend, you know that? He shrugged with a smile. It was nothing. But Max shook his head. Doesn't change the fact that it counts. Small things like this become the most treasured memories for some. He nodded, glad to hear that. Then shall we check our rooms? Also, Grandpa Max, give me those luggages. He took the suitcases from Max, causing him to smile. Thanks, son. Earning a nod, no problem. Ah, but wait. He looked at the guard. When he gets out, tell him to come to room 304 or 305. You understood, sir. As he nodded, Alistair looked at the crowd surrounding Zap and whistled. Zap. Come on, let's go. Zap looked disappointed, but waved goodbye and came over with a smile. Being a group of 5 now with 2 pets staying in one room would be uncomfortable. So while the Tennysons had one room for themselves, Alistair had gotten a room for his own little group with Shago, Tigress and Zap. We'll see you later then. They bid farewell to Max and Gwen before entering their own room. Alistair and Shago had been living by themselves in the trailer attached to the RV for a while now, so they weren't bothered in the hotel room either. As they set the suitcases down, Shago slumped down on her bed. So what should we do now? What do you want to do? Well, I thought going out and doing some shopping would be fun. Especially since I barely have anything to wear since you just picked me up and we hit the road. Wanna go together? Yeah, sure. But can you wait an hour or 2 before that? I have something to do outside. Huh? You have to do something yourself? Without doing it online? Who's dying? Oh, come on. It's the truth. You have Tectrix or me do everything for you. That's not true. Oh really? Name one actual purchase or something you've done by yourself. Yeah, do chili fries or milkshakes count? Asterisk raising an eyebrow asterisk do they? She, Alricht, geez. Yeah, you two do everything for me. Asterisk smirking asterisk glad you know. Yeah. Anyway, I need to do something for a bit. Need help? I can tag along if it's important. Nah, don't worry. I'll be done in a bit, then call you to come down so we can hang out. Amuse yourself till then. Alright. Do we take these two along? Yeah, sure. Just put on Tigress's harness and leash first when you come out. Stern salute Stern gotcha, Bossmann. Asterisk smirking asterisk see you later, Shigo. Shago's eyes widened in rage. I've told you to stop with that god-awful name. My name's Shago. Alistair opened the door while cackling, Shago? She gone. Ha ha ha. Quickly closing the door behind him to block the thrown pillow, it never gets old ha ha ha. Alright, enough joking around. Let's go change the plot for the better some more. Now in his 10-year-old form again and with a Tectrix turning into a hoodie and covering his face, an ability that made Shago desire Tectrix oh so much, he walked into the game store, A/N, or whatever that place is, Total Zone. It would have taken far too long to pinpoint where Kevin was, not really, he could easily hack every camera in the city, including cell phones, to find him, so he had used his ultimate brainiac's crystal clear memories to find the place. Walking in, he saw kids playing with all sorts of arcades. He would have looked too out of place if he had come in his teenage form, considering how big and muscular he was. So he had to come in his child form. Spotting Kevin wasn't hard. Especially when Nemetrix announced his close presence by itself, altered DNA of existing DNA detected, proceeding to scanning. New evolution of existing Homo sapien DNA unlocked, osmosion. Proceeding to fuse the existing DNAs. Kevin Levan, osmosion. Enhanced strength. Enhanced durability. Enhanced jumping. Enhanced reflexes. Energy absorption. Mana absorption. Energy projection via energy absorption. Energy infusion via energy absorption. DNA absorption. DNA conductivity. Power absorption via DNA absorption. Life force absorption via DNA absorption. Matter absorption. Body alteration via matter absorption. Weapon manifestation via body alteration. Hand merging via matter absorption. Body extension via matter absorption. Body enlargement via matter absorption. Regeneration via matter absorption. Matter manipulation via matter absorption. Matter generation, matter absorption. Matter transference via matter absorption. Matter encasement halting for a moment, Alistair basked in the power that surged through every vein in his body. He had to grit his teeth with a smile to not groan at the sensation. Letting out a comfortable sigh, he looked around for Kevin and spotted him immediately. Poor kid was just leaning on an arcade all by his own lonesome. Pulled on Alistair's heartstrings. Damn, he looks so lonely. He sighed, walking up to Kevin who noticed him. Alistair smirked, these arcades don't really look like the up-to-date ones. We'll probably eat the tickets in a second. Kevin smirked, believe me they will. Then the manager will just say we warned you. Alistair, tisk jerk. Why don't you buy some actual consoles instead of picking up the ones from the trash can? Kevin, probably because he comes from there himself? Alistair couldn't help but laugh, you're funny. It's probably the reason why he smells like a hot NBA locker room during double overtime in the 6th game. Probably been wearing that stinky-ass shirt that fails at being stylish like his existence since September 1969. Kevin choked before wheezing, oh god. Ha 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 ha, that's hilarious. Ha 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 ha, why you're good at this. Alistair scoffed with a smirk, yeah baby. Alistair spits like he has a fucking lisp, bitch. After laughing to his heart's content, Kevin wiped away the tears, ha 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 ha, man, been a long time since I laughed like that. Grinning, he held up a hand for Alistair to shake, the name's Kevin. Alistair shook it firmly, just call me Al, nice to meet ya. Oh well Al. Since you gave me such a good laugh, here's some payback. Putting his hand on an arcade, electricity-like energy flowed into the arcade before coins began to pour out of it. Oh cool. Alistair nodded at the smirking Kevin before grinning himself, I've got some skills too. As Kevin looked at him in confusion, red energy flowed into the ground from his foot before all the arcades around them began to pour out coins. Being in the quiet part of the game store, nobody saw them however. Holy crap. Kevin's mouth went wide. Wait, you're the same as me? Alistair smirked. I'm the same as everyone, but just better. As Kevin was about to say something, he seemed to see something behind Alistair. Damn, sorry, Al, but I gotta bail. Heh, he's definitely a good kid as long as he doesn't lose his mind when taking too much energy. He didn't want to get me involved in this little trouble even though he saw what I could do. With his senses going off, he stepped aside just as a big kid was about to push him out of the way, but you know he really is a good kid. He could always fry these punks even if he didn't absorb the Omnitrix's energy. Osmosians do lose control when absorbing too much energy, so him becoming like that was because of him overloading. Oh well, I'm not gonna let my favorite character suffer. As Kevin was walking away, somebody blocked his way. Long time no see. Where you going, freak? Home to recharge your batteries. He stepped back but was grabbed by the two kids that had followed him. Kevin didn't look scared though. In fact, he smirked. So how's the hangout? Still trashed like I left it for you. The kid with goggles and a lip piercing glared. Yeah, and you're gonna pay. You can't take us all alone, freak. Suddenly a tall, muscular man appeared behind him menacingly, smirking evilly. Then what about me, you little shit? Chapter 46, ch 44, Kevin recruited and unknown lady? E7 The leader of the kids looked at him nervously. What the? Who the hell dashed but was interrupted by a crisp slap. Boy, shut yo mouth. Which knocked him out cold. The smirking Alistair turned to the other boys. Hasn't anybody told you that bullying is wrong? Huh. He slapped another one, knocking him out too. What the hell? Screw you, a kid rushed him but was slapped and knocked out too. The still awake kids backed off in fear as he smirked. Now you boys can either pick your pals and piss off, or you can get slapped. Which option do you pick? The boys hurriedly picked their friends up before running away. Alistair scoffed. Pussies. This is the problem with street thugs. They act like they're big shits until they get slapped. Or maybe it's just because I'm the one slapping, hee. Who are you? Kevin's unsure voice came. Turning to him, he smirked and with a red light, returned to his child form. It's me, Al. As he took off his hood, Kevin's eyes widened. Wait, you're that guy on the news. Alistair the Predator, right? Alistair coughed, returning to his teenage form. Yeah, it's me. Mumbling that name's going to be the death of me. Nothing. Anyway, let me introduce myself properly. I'm Alistair the Predator. Nice to meet you, kid. As he held up a hand, Kevin cautiously shook it. And what business do you have with me? Alistair smirked. Simple, I'm here to recruit you. What? I'm here to recruit you. No, I heard you the first time. I mean, I just don't get it. Get what? There's not much to get it from that. I mean, why? Why would you want to recruit me? I'm just a freak. Looking at Kevin's sad and lonely face, Alistair was silent before patting his head. Kid, you're not a freak. You're just special. Like me and Ben, the savior. Just because you can do more than what normal people can doesn't make you a freak. And I'm here to recruit you because you're special. So you know about me? He smirked. I found out about an interesting kid accidentally. And since I thought it would be a waste for someone with your talents to live in such a condition, I thought it would be best if I recruited you. Like with that new lady? Yeah, like Shago. Look, Kev, I'm someone who doesn't like to beat around the bush. As I just said, I like your talents and want you in our team. Of course, since you don't have a family, I'll pay for all your expenses and even give you allowance since I can't hire a minor. So, what do you think? We got a deal. He held up a hand for Kevin to shake again. But just as he was about to take his hand, Alistair smiled. Also, you'll get another benefit from joining us. And what's that? A family. People that you can trust who will love and support you. Doesn't that make the offer even more tempting? He didn't miss how Kevin's eyes widened before smiling gently. Yeah, it does. Looking at his large hand, Kevin hesitated before finally shaking it. All right then, I'm in. Just about any life is better than the one I'm living right now anyway. Don't worry, Keith. Alistair circled his arm around Kevin's head to rub his head. I'll make sure that your life does a 180 for the better from now on. With Kevin now recruited, the two made their way back to the hotel to see Shago standing in front of the door. Tigress's leash in hand and Zap flying beside them. Hey yo! Alistair called out. Blowing her gum before blowing it up, she turned and gave an upward nod. Yo, boss. Before pushing up her sunglasses at the kid with him. Who's the kid? You didn't finally fully commit to your name, right? Very funny. No, let me introduce you two to each other. Kevin, this is Shago. Shago, this is Kevin Levan, the newest member of our team. Make sure you two get along. They turned to Kevin, who was looking at Tigress and Zap in amazement. Noticing their gaze, he smiled awkwardly. Hi, raising a hand for a handshake. Shago side-eyed Alistair questioningly but still shook his hand. Hi, kid. Nice to meet you. So you gonna explain, boss? Yeah, of course. But on the way. You said you need some clothes, right? Shago nodded. So does Kevin. As you can see, he doesn't, have a lot to wear. Shago looked Kevin up and down. Yeah, that's for sure. So you want him to tag along? I don't mind if he comes along. Fantastic. He gave a clap. But how about I give a call to the others so we can all go and hang out? It would be fun and the kids can get to know each other. Shago shrugged. Sure, I guess that can be fun. Before glaring, but I'll kick your ass if you complain while I'm trying on some clothes. Alistair smirked, as if. And Shago came face to face. Try me, bitch. And so, after calling down Ben and Gwen, they all went to hang around the city and do some shopping. Max took the day off, however, letting the young ones have fun for themselves while he rested. Episode 8. Orbiting around the Earth undetected, 2 mechadroids were launched from the Chimran Hammer, Vilgax's spaceship. The drones have launched. One of the bioid operating the ship notified Vilgax in his healing tank. Equipped with the improved internal tracking system, they should be able to find and retrieve the Omnitrix and the Nemetrix. They may find them, said Vilgax, wheezing somewhat, but retrieving them will not be easy. Whoever possesses the Omnitrix and the Nemetrix continues to be an opponent of extreme danger and inspiring brilliance. Originally, Vilgax was able to connect to Earth's media. It had happened in the original, and he was able to see Ben using the Omnitrix to play hero. However, upon trying to do so this time around, they had found out that they were completely locked out of the internet on Earth. Sure, Alistair was confident about facing anybody since he wasn't scared of anybody while having the Nemetrix and unlocking master control and ultimate function on top of that. However, Vilgax was the single villain he wouldn't underestimate. Motherfucker was the reason why his standards for a villain were so high ever since he was a child. Man was a fucking menace. Beat the dog shit out of Ben the first time he popped up. In fact, he would even admit that the only reason Ben won every time against him before getting way big was because of plot armor. He would sneer in Malware's face, ridicule ultimate Kevin Levan, mock Albedo, laugh in Gregor's face, flip off ZS Scare and roast Dagon's ass, but he wouldn't underestimate Vilgax. Meanwhile on Earth, the so-called brilliant enemy of extreme danger's stomach rumbled in a gas station as he walked with the others who were buying snacks. Man, I'm starved. Noticing a stacked pyramid of cookie boxes, he reached to take one, causing Shago's eyes to widen. Wait, don't. But it was too late. As he took one, the rest of the pyramid lost balance and fell over on Gwen. As Alistair laughed, Gwen's head popped out of the pile. Smooth move, Tennyson. While Ben smiled innocently, Kevin, in much better clothes, reached out a hand for her to grab. You okay? Yeah. She smiled somewhat shyly, grabbing his hand as he gently pulled her up. The two of them smiling bashfully and turning away from each other. Ayo! Zap flowed around them, pursing his lips and kissing the air as Ben said in disgust, yuck. Alistair held his ice cream like a microphone. Can you feel the love tonight? Making Shago laugh as the two blushed. Gwen glared intensely. Al. He laughed again as she scoffed shyly. Shago came to his side. So how's the Nemetrix doing? Still hasn't upgraded yet? He shook his head. Not yet. It was able to absorb another piece of the Podis Altair this morning, but I guess the upgrading time takes longer with each new piece absorbed. Well, I don't think it will take too long. I wonder what ability it will unlock this time though. Yeah, me too. The first piece unlocked ultimate function. I'm really looking forward to what the next piece will unlock. Walking out while eating snacks, they saw Max cleaning the back window of the rust bucket. Someone brilliant had written a wash me sad face in the window's dust with their finger. Max smiled. Nice artwork, Ben. Ben smiled back, hand in his cookie box, makes a statement. Suddenly Alistair's senses went off before a money truck was blasted with a laser, blowing it open and lighting it up on fire. Gwen's eyes widened. No, that's a statement. Getting rid of their snacks, all except Alistair who would rather die, they turned to look at the attackers. There were 3 of them. All wearing full biker outfits with helmets and wielding laser rifles. I guess it's nothing. Alistair said nonchalantly, throwing a chip into his mouth. You all can get rid of these little thugs, guys. Go on, make me proud. What are you looking at? Oh shit. The leader saw the group, but her eyes under the helmet widened immediately. Damn this luck. Shoot them down. But just as they took aim, their guns zapped, malfunctioning as they pulled the trigger again and again to shoot, but to no avail. Alistair smiled, sparks of electricity running around the Tectrix after it released an EMP explosion. Now, those toys are too dangerous for punks like you. Smirking, the group charged with Alistair and Gwen staying behind. Ben transformed into forearms while Shago and Kevin's hands lit up with energy. The fight wasn't even worth paying attention to. Alistair yawned as the group pummeled the arrogant thugs. You know, this makes me feel a bit bad. Just a bit though. Gwen nodded, curling her lips. Yeah, poor idiots got such bad luck to be committing a crime right in front of us. Serves the punks right. Just as he was speaking, intense sparks of red energy began to sip out of the Nemetrix. He quickly put some distance between himself, Max and Gwen. He didn't feel any danger, nor did his senses go off, but he took extra measures since the red energy began to expand more and more. Alistair? Alistair. Max called out as the energy turned into a ball and completely enveloped Alistair inside, before suddenly disappearing completely. Alistair? They looked at where he was supposed to be, but only smoke rose from the burnt ground on where he had stood. In an alleyway, Alistair woke up with an intense gasp. The one that moms do when they are awakened, as if they were reliving WW2 or something. Looking around while gasping, he shook his head and pushed his hair back. What? What the hell? Where the hell am I? Trying to remember what happened, it all came back. Right, the Nemetrix overloaded or something. It created a field of energy by itself and teleported me? To where? Taking a deep breath to calm down, he looked down at the Nemetrix. Nemetrix, what happened? Upon completely upgrading after absorbing a piece of the Podis Altair, the device unlocked the ability to teleport the wielder to the home planet of any collected species. It had attempted to teleport you to your original body's home planet, however, issues were faced and you were teleported to a random location. You'll be able to teleport back upon the Nemetrix charging up again. Teleporting back? So I'm not on Earth? But this is clearly a city on Earth, or maybe I'm on another Earth. Did I get sent to another universe entirely? Hey man, what are you doing here? Suddenly he heard a voice that sounded so familiar, yet so unfamiliar thanks to the femininity of it. You're not doing anything suspicious, right? His eyes, as if instinctively, moved the girl's wrist, just to widen at seeing the different Omnitrix than he was used to. Ben? The girl leaned on one hip, and as the lights of a car from the end of the alley lit up, he saw a beautiful brunette with a ponytail wearing a cold shoulder green and black shirt with a 10 in the middle. Who's Ben, pal? I'm Jen. Jen Sainta. Chapter 47, ch 45, Jen Tennyson. Oh wait, you're, who? He blinked, his eyebrows shooting up. She raised a pretty eyebrow. Jen? Jen Tennyson? The single most famous person in the universe, duh. Shocked, he ran his fingers through his hair, before laughing dumbly. Nah, ain't no way, bro, ain't no way. This is not happening. Jen smirked smugly, still leaning on one thick hip. Listen, man, I know that meeting me is a pleasure, but you shouldn't be acting weird like that. He kept laughing lightly, finding the situation extremely funny as he rubbed his nape. No, ha 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 ha, no, I do know you. But a different version of you, to be exact? She frowned in confusion. What does that mean? But just as he was about to answer, a man came from the light of the car that lit up the alleyway in the night. Jen? What's the matter? Jen looked back. I thought this guy was suspicious since he was snooping around in the alley, but now he's just acting weird. Ken. The moment of 5 feet 7 inches, 170 centimeters, boy around the same height as Jen, with short orange hair and wearing a white shirt under a blue sweater and black pants appeared. Alistair choked on his own laughter. Ken, ha 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 ha. Ah ha 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 ha. Oh my god, I'm doing ha ha ha. Looking at him weirdly, Jen covered her mouth and whispered, is he crazy? Ken, who Alistair figured was the male version of Gwen, wasn't rude enough to answer. Dude, what's going on over there? Another female voice came. Ken looked awkward. No, it's nothing, Kavina. And Alistair lost it. A/N, no, I didn't pull that out of my ass, that's a legitimate Irish name, the same as Kevin. A kif haha. I can't. Ikahahahunt. He wheezed, hunching over with hands on his knees as his stomach hurt from the laughter. Kavina frowned. What's with this guy? Jen shrugged. That's what we're trying to find out. Sorry ha, sorry, just. I couldn't help it. Wiping away the tears, he finally took a good look at the trio. He had to admit Jen was pretty. And pretty thick. The female version of Ben had developed quite well, despite her skinny counterpart. She could definitely give Kim a run for her money. In fact, he had to admit that Jen was even prettier. Appearance-wise, she was drop-dead gorgeous. She was somehow far prettier than the grown-up Gwen herself. Guess who got the better looks and genes, damn. Her long, pretty brown hair was also tied in a ponytail behind her. She was wearing a cold shoulder green and black shirt with a 10 on it, which revealed a bit of the cleavage of her big breasts. She also wore brown shorts and thigh-highs that hugged her thick thighs deliciously. The Omniverse version of the Omnitrix rested nicely on her pretty wrist. Ken, the male version of Gwen, resembled Ben a lot bodily-wise. He was skinny and looked a lot like him, but looked more serious and calm. And Kevina? Jesus Christ, that tall emo girl had bazonkers. She was beautiful, tall, and had amazing tits? Ken was one lucky bastard. Her fashion was the same as her male counterpart, however. Didn't seem like a skirt type of gal. Ahem, sorry, ha ha ha. He chuckled, getting it all out of his system before raising his left hand, causing their eyes to widen funnily. Let me introduce myself. I'm Alistair Aliyev, the wielder of the Nemetrix from another universe. It's nice to meet you. Wait, so you're from a universe where I'm a guy? Jen's eyes widened. They had moved to the good old Mr. Smoothie store to enjoy some nice drinks as Alistair explained his identity. Ken and Kevina pointed at themselves, and I'm a girl/boy? He nodded, drinking his drink, yup. Albeit a lot younger. Look. Flipping his right hand, the Tectrix turned into a phone. After finding their most recent group photo, he showed them. They all looked at it interesting as Jen pointed at the people in it. Is that me? And that's Ken. Ha 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 ha, look at the emo boy Kev. Quiet, Tennyson. Kevina glared, but was ignored by the excited Jen. And that's, no way, is that Grandma Max? A grandma wheeze. Alistair slapped the table, wheezing hard as no noise came out for a second. Oh my god, this universe is something else, ha 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 ha. Please, I have to meet her. I have to, alright? It's the funniest shit ever. Jen had a huge grin herself too. Now I get why you're laughing so hard. I would too. But hey, the male version of me is pretty cute too. Bet the grown-up version is really handsome too. He, guess I have the better looks even in a gender-bent universe, huh, Kenny? Smiling smugly, she wiggled her eyebrows at her cousin who rolled his eyes. Yeah, believe what you want, Jen. No need to be in denial, cousin. Jen shrugged, smug and mischievous. You should be proud about having such a good-looking cousin, no matter if male or female. I mean, don't misunderstand, your female form is cute and all too. But you know, you just can't compare to a certain someone when it comes to looks. Ken flared his nose, rolling his eyes before Kevina rubbed his back. Don't listen to her, babe. You're definitely better than her in terms of looks. Your female version is cuter than her, and you're definitely more handsome than her male version. I don't really care. Ken smiled lightly but was interrupted by Jen throwing her arms up dramatically, as if before crossing them under her ample bust with a smirk. You're just saying that to make him feel better. Kevina glared. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. I am so not. You so are. As the two glared at each other, Jen smirked in provocation. Fine, how about we let someone else decide then? Before turning to Alistair, who was enjoying his drink while watching the funny interaction. Alistair, my buddy, my partner from another universe, which one of us do you think has the better looks? Bro code be damned, I guess. He pursed his lips before shrugging. Sorry, Gwen. Ken, but I'm not one to lie. Jen is definitely better than you in terms of looks. Hell yeah. Gwen raised her fist in victory before grinning at Kevina. Woohoo, in your face, Kevina. Kevina rolled her eyes in annoyance. He just has bad taste. Meanwhile, Ken just stayed out of it. Why are these two arguing over how pretty my female version is? I swear, they argue over the most pointless things. But it's the truth. Suddenly his voice dropped by an octave, catching their attention as he smirked at Jen, his eyes half closing with a hungry glint. Jen really is one gorgeous girl. Her face lit up in red. Alistair's handsome face, which she had tried to ignore till now, combined with that look he was giving her, made her blush intensely. She smiled shyly, pushing her hair behind her ear. Oh, well, TT thanks. He chuckled lowly, voice deepening and making her gulp as he leaned on one hand, using his looks to the best of their abilities. You're welcome, sweetheart. But I'm just stating facts. You're definitely the most beautiful girl I've met. Makes me feel lucky to be your partner. Ew. Jen could feel the heat even on her ears as she giggled. Well, why you're definitely no slouch either. Definitely the most handsome guy I've seen myself. Thanks darling. He chuckled lightheartedly, making her heart skip a beat. The pet names were doing things to her. Meanwhile, Ken and Kavina just stood there shocked. The two were acting as if they weren't even there. The way Alistair flirted with her so effortlessly had left them shocked. And the way Jen was being led by the nose so easily had left them speechless. Not one to stand the awkwardness, Kavina coughed. Ahem, why don't you two get a room? You're flirting too much in public. Jen glared shyly. We're not flirting. Kavina smirked. Of course you weren't. Jen, you were 2 minutes away from sucking on each other's faces. Alistair pursed his lips. 1 minute if I actually tried, actually. Jen buried her face in her hands. Kev. Kavina snickered, clearly having fun teasing her best friend. Alistair joined in with a smirk and a raise of his eyebrow. Why you don't like the idea, Jen? He had to admit she was too cute. He had just met her, but teasing her had already become his favorite thing to do. Jennifer glared at him from between her fingers, blushing even harder as she pouted. Not you too. He covered his smile, looking away and holding in his chuckles at how adorable she was. Seriously, you're too adorable, Jen. Not teasing you is just too hard. She stopped covering her face, opting to glare at the table with an annoyed pout. The way her pink lips pursed and her red cheeks puffed was just too cute for Alistair. Seriously, my guardian instincts as the wielder of the Nemetrix are going to work overtime on being protective of her. Some might say that I'm probably violating the bro code. He smiled solo leveling style internally, but isn't it the duty of any homie to fuck the baddie version of his bro? Can you imagine saying I fucked your female version to roast your bro? Wouldn't that be the funniest shit ever? How could I possibly miss this chance? And besides, she really is beautiful. I mean, me with such high standards am saying that, so it's obvious she's one hell of a beauty. Ken turned to Alistair, not to be rude or anything, but do you have a way of getting back? You're not stuck here without a way to get back to your own universe, right? He shook his head. If it's for going back, I could easily make a universe-hopping device myself. Before looking with a smirk, but how about we ask the professional for help for extra measures instead? The trio looked confused, before a female voice came and a figure walked out from behind a lamp post. My main profession is time travel, not universe hopping, Alistair. A Professor Paradox. What are you doing here? Jen questioned the lady with black hair and in lab clothes. Alistair stood up with a smile. It's a pleasure to meet you, Professor Paradox. Professor Paradox smiled, shaking his hand. Well, I wouldn't say it's my first time having the pleasure of meeting you, but it's nice to meet you for the first time as well, young Alistair. Believe me, the pleasure's all mine. His innocent smile widened as the Nemetrix came to life. Altered DNA of existing DNA detected, proceeding to scanning. New evolution of existing Homo sapien DNA unlocked. Proceeding to fuse the existing DNAs. Professor Paradox, human mutate. Enhanced strength. Enhanced speed. Enhanced durability. Enhanced stamina. Enhanced agility. Enhanced reflexes. Enhanced equilibrium. Regenerative healing factor. Biological immortality. Contained metabolism. Chronokinesis. Chronopathy. Dimensional travel. Time portal creation. Time travel. Time reduction. Time stopping. Temporal speed. Temporal protection. Teleportation. Age reversal. Flight. Space-time lock. Full space-time knowledge. A/N, Alistair's actually good reason for getting rid of male Kai. Wait, hold on, if everybody genderbent here, would that mean that the male version of Kai wants to fuck the female Blitzwolfer? Oh hell no. Hans Fogetze Flammenwerfer, Getze Gustav. Chapter 48, ch 46, Alistair x Gen P1. Alistair's body shivered at the power that coursed through him, along with the knowledge that invaded his mind. He found it interesting how knowledge about space-time had actually integrated into Professor Paradox's DNA. But hey, it was all the better for him. Shaking her head, Professor Paradox chuckled as he inhaled sharply with a grin, still the same as ever I see. Taking a deep breath and exhaling to calm down, he raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? You always get so excited about getting a new power or transformation. That didn't change even when you got older. Ahahaha, guess my behavior as a power collector never changes, huh? So you really have met me before? Oh well, not technically. More like I hadn't met you yet, eh? Ha 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 ha, it gets so confusing when we're both paradoxes. Ahaha, true that. Wait, hold on. Jen interrupted them. Turning to look, they saw her flabbergasted face. What just happened with your watch? Alistair grinned smugly. Oh, didn't I tell you? My Nemetrix is able to scan the altered DNAs of species too. which is how they get their abilities. I've collected multiple altered human DNAs, for example. The Osmosian DNA of Kavina is one of them. AWA. That's not fair. She pouted, how come your watch from 6 years ago is better than my completed Omnitrix? Chuckling, he skipped over to sit next to her and poke her puffed cheek. Don't be like that. After all, the Nemetrix was designed to protect the Omnitrix and its wielder. He winked, causing her to blush. This just makes it easier for me to protect my dear partner. Her jealousy disappeared, replaced with a shy pout as she mumbled, I don't need protection. I'm the savior of the universe, for God's sake. Alistair couldn't help but chuckle, his face reddening at how cute she was. My God, you're seriously so adorable. As a small smile appeared on her face, Professor Paradox chuckled in amusement. Seriously, you two need to know how to be considerate of your surroundings. Jen jolted, covering her face in shame. Stop it, you all. They couldn't help chuckling at her reaction. For being the most dangerous being in the universe, she really was one adorable little bean. A gorgeous one at that. Ken turned to the time traveler. So you know how to get Alistair back, Professor? Professor Paradox nodded. Yes, I'm capable of going to other universes as well. I can take him back, but as you just heard, now he's able to go back by himself. Jen sighed. Seriously, that's so unfair that he can copy other people's powers. Alistair smiled, bumping shoulders with her. Come on, isn't this for the better? Now I'll be able to come to this universe whenever I want. Jen was thoughtful for a moment, before a small smile tugged on her lips as she mumbled, okay, I guess that's not so bad now. There they go again. The others shook their heads. But suddenly the sound of a loud explosion came from the distance. The teenagers jolted in place due to shock, while Professor Paradox stayed calm as if she already knew what was going to happen. She smiled and waved. All right then, I'll leave you guys to it. It was a pleasure to meet you, Alistair. See you later, Professor. Take care. He saluted with a smile as he disappeared. They all got up, with Jen frowning. What was that? Kevina, an explosion? Jen smiled. You don't say? Really? Kavina, damn little. Ken, stop it, you two. Come on, we should go. Jen grinned at Alistair. You coming for the action, partner? Alistair chuckled in amusement. How could I not when my partner is asking me? But her grin turned mischievous. Then want a race there? And his smirk turned sharp to the challenge. Oh, you're on, sweetheart. You're on. As Ken and Kavina face-bombed, Jen giggled mischievously. Then may the best win. Come on, Omnitrix, don't embarrass me now. Give me XLR8. But no matter how beautiful he found her, Alistair still cringed at how she slapped the Omnitrix. Fast track. The blue humanoid feline appeared. But equipped with titties. With some voluptuous ones at that. Jen smirked. Fast track? Oh well, I can work with that. Come on, Alistair, what are you waiting for? He smirked back. For this. Unidentified DNA detected, proceeding to scanning. New alien and predator DNA unlocked, Citricaia and Pondus lacerti. Pondus lacerti description: this species is capable of shooting beams from the horn of its head that can alter the weight of an object or a living being for a subjectively short period of time, approximately 2 hours. They use these beams to prevent the fast-track species from being able to run, either making them so heavy that it is impossible for them to move or so light that they would float uncontrollably. Inside its spines there is a liquid. If the laser is to reduce the weight, it will begin to float, and if it is to increase the weight, it will not. Bonus fact: for some reason their purple spots can glow in black light. Bonus fact: Galvan scientists are still investigating whether his skin is yellow with purple spots or purple with yellow spots. Fast track deadpanned the smirking boy before flaring her nose. We're going to have a problem if you keep doing that. He gave her the Andrew Garfield laugh as he pressed down the Nemetrix gently. You haven't seen the best of it yet, sweet cheeks. With a bright red light, he transformed. Godspeed. Making the female fast track groan, and of course he gets the right alien. Humph. But Godspeed laughed teasingly. Oh, I'm not done yet, Jen. As she looked at him with confusion, he raised his hand, making her eyes widen. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. As he laughed again, he slammed the Nemetrix symbol, causing red light to travel through his body and change him as the trio watched in shock. Ultimate Godspeed. Fast Track's mouth hung open. What in the boss battle? Kavina was quick to rub salt on the wound. Damn, Jen, you sure you can beat that? Fast Track's face soured as she pointed at Ultimate Godspeed. I demand a nerf, this is too unfair. Just the fact that your watch gives you whatever alien you want is unfair, but you've got ultimate transformations on top of that. How is this fair at all? Ultimate Godspeed grinned. Life isn't fair, Jen. What, too scared to lose? You want me to race you as a human instead? Her lips turned up as she inhaled sharply. Fine then. See if I'll lose, pretty boy. He looked at her with a smirk, but couldn't help chuckling in amusement. All right, don't be mad. You're right, it is unfair. Slapping his chest, he turned into Roadrunner, his version of the fast track. There, we'll do it like this. Happy now, cute missy? A/N, I grew up watching that Looney Tunes show, so I really saw the resemblance. Fast Track blinked, before looking away with a smile tugging on her pursed lips as she mumbled, I'm not happy. Roadrunner shook his head in amusement. All right then, shall we start? Fast Track grinned confidently, with pleasure. As they got ready, he began to count, on the count of 3. Erster, zweiter, drei. They both disappeared, leaving Ken and Kavina behind. The redhead sighed, rubbing his temples, and here I thought he'd be more mature for supposedly being her guardian. Kavina shook her head with a chuckle. Hey, at least she has a new friend to have fun with. Come on, let's go before they hug all the fun. Back with the watch wielders, they raced competitively, running in the roads without holding back. They gave it all they had because although they were friends, they were both hella competitive. Especially Alistair. He was a dick with a competitive spirit that wouldn't let him go easy on man, woman, child or elderly. He could remember how whenever he won against his nephew in a football video game, he would write it down. He brought up that number to 100 without losing even once, and couldn't remember how many times he made or nearly made his nephew cry. He never regretted it even once. It's gonna take more than that to beat me, Alistair. Fast Track taunted, running between cars and going around obstacles with ease. With her experience, it was too easy. And although Roadrunner had a harder time, he still tried his best. He ran as fast as he could while smirking. We'll see about that, Jen. Running side by side, they gritted their teeth as they gave it all they had. Arms swinging and backs lowering to speed up even further, leaving blue trails behind. But as they were nearing the finishing line, Roadrunner smiled lightly and slowed down sneakily, letting Fast Track have the win in the end. Stopping, she slapped the Omnitrix symbol on her chest, turning back to her beautiful self as she threw her arms up in victory. Hell yeah, that's what's up. As he stopped and reverted back, Jen pointed at him smugly. Even if you have more functions in your Nemetrix, I'm still more experienced than you, pretty boy. He chuckled in amusement. Although giving up left a bad taste, it's worth it to see that smile. Geez, Nemetrix, you could hold back on making me protective. Stepping closer, he towered over her, making her gulp at the height difference as he looked down with a hungry smile. So you think I'm pretty, hun? Jen jumped, her smugness disappearing as her shy awkwardness came back. It was funny with her male version, but it just awakened the slight sadism in him with her female version. Seriously, I've always been into confident and assertive girls, but shy Jen is just too adorable. Rubbing her arm, she mumbled, well, why yeah. Turning his head slightly with a small smile, he lowered himself to bring his ear closer. Huh? I didn't hear that, Jen. God, she looks so cute while blushing. He screamed as her face reddened again. I said yeah, okay? Why, you're really handsome and hot, all right. He covered his smile and closed his eyes, overloaded by cuteness as he chuckled. You're too precious, Jen. If only villains weren't around. Suddenly the Tectrix turned into a shield in front of them and shielded them from the laser that was fired at them. Jen jumped, remembering that they were here to take care of a problem before Alistair started seducing her. That was rude. His face turned cold, honestly annoyed for the mood being ruined as he looked at the attacker. Hasn't nobody taught you any manners? As the Tectrix blocked multiple other lasers, it turned transparent for him to see the attackers. 3 guys wearing armors, one all red, one in all blue, and one in all yellow. Their hairs were dyed to match their colors. Oh, it's just Rojo. Jen said leisurely, should have expected that. Heh, I came here while fighting Rojo just to go against this universe's Rojo? Funny. Rojo and his gang glared, aiming their lasers. You're not getting in our way this time, Tennyson. You and your boyfriend are going down. Her face flushed all over again, up to her ears and down to her pretty neck. He's not my boyfriend. But Rojo didn't care. I don't care, Tennyson. Yes, thanks for clarifying. All I know is that today's your end. As they attacked again, just for the Tectrix to block everything, Jen activated her Omnitrix with a smirk. Geez, can't you all come up with something original? Slamming it down, she transformed Swampfire. 'Cause you see, all of them say the same thing. But I think even someone with a pea brain like you would figure out that none of them have ever succeeded. Unidentified DNA detected, proceeding to scanning. New alien and predator DNA unlocked, methanosian and mortua-methanum. Chapter 49, CH-47. Teamwork. Rolling his eyes playfully, he activated his own watch. Don't worry, you'll get used to it. Before pressing it down, Winter. As the Necrophrygian took flight, Swampfire hissed quietly, "Oh, I need to warn him about Big Chill, don't I?" Seeing him transform, Rojo and his lackey's eyes widened. Another one. Damn it, it doesn't matter. We'll just kill them both. The Tectrix's shield had already retracted, but the two didn't need to worry at all. Because as the lasers, which would instantly kill normal humans, were shot at them, they simply phased through them. It was the reason Jen had picked Swampfire. Although the lasers created giant wounds and even destroyed some parts, she simply recovered instantly. As for Winter, everything simply phased through him as he turned intangible, but not completely invisible. He chuckled in mockery, "Kill? Kill an Ice Ghost? You should have been a comedian instead of a third-rate villain. I'm sure you'd have a more successful career than your pathetic attempts at villainy." Ew, burn. Swampfire snickered, and I thought I was supposed to cause the burns. Veins popped on Rojo's face. "Shut the hell up, you freaks. Kill them already." As the lasers rained again, Winter deadpanned, "You don't listen, do you? Fine, let's get this over with." Flapping his wings, he descended towards the robbers sharply. But just as was about to reach them, an electric net was shot at him from the blown wall of the building. Surprisingly, instead of going through him, the net hit him, trapping him and sending him sliding on the floor as he was electrocuted painfully. Ugh. What the hell? But he gritted his teeth, keeping the groans at bay as he looked at the attackers. "Alistair!" Swampfire shouted in worry, turning to look at the attackers as well. Two women came out, one slim and the other fat. Both of them were wearing red clothes and carrying advanced alien guns, and they clearly weren't human. Unidentified DNA detected, proceeding to scanning. New alien DNA unlocked, Vreedle. No natural predator detected. And now, lady and gents, no need for violence. The slim one, looking to be the leader of the two, said even though she aimed her gun, "We can clearly fix this issue without a fight." The fat one loaded her weapon. "That is if you please don't get in our stick-up." "The Vreedle sisters?" Swampfire's eyes widened. "What are you two geniuses doing with Rojo and his gang of all people?" Rhomboid, the fat one, shyly waved her hand. "Oh, please, no need to compliment us." But Octagon, the slim sister, narrowed her eyes, her accent heavy. "I believe she was being sarcastic, is what the Earthlings call it, Boyd." Was she? Rhomboid grew sad. Swampfire glared. "Geez, just the fact that you figured that out is impressive. So what are you doing here? Why are you teaming up with Rojo?" Octagon shrugged. "We were hired to steal some things, and they were hired with us. So we thought we might as well work together, you know." I'ma be honest, I love Octagon's accent and imagine it when I'm writing her dialogues, face with tears of joy. Rojo scoffed. "Believe me, I'm not thrilled about working with these freaks either, but I'd rather just get the job done." Octagon sighed at him. "Hey, that's a bit rude, don't you think? We're all people like you, just different species. No need to insult us just 'cause we're a little different than you all." Meanwhile, Alistair couldn't help but cackle even while being electrocuted. Sisters. Ha ha ha, sisters, ha ha ha. Oh, I love this universe, ha 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 ha. What's wrong with him? Rhomboid pointed at the trapped Winter, who flashed his giant, bloodthirsty smile at them. Did you really think this would be enough to stop me? Adorable, but you haven't seen anything yet. With a bright red light, he transformed a predator. As the space canine appeared, his claws began tearing apart the net trapping him, seemingly unbothered by the electricity trying to fry him. Slamming his claws on the ground, the eyeless predator growled at the villains, the Tectrix conveying his words. "You punks are gonna regret that." Oh yeah? We'll see about dash." As Rhomboid was about to aim, a pink energy blast shot her away. Octagon's eyes widened. "Boyd." But she, as well as Rojo's gang, were blown away as well when a missile exploded near them. The watch wielders turned to see, not the predators though, he turned to hear better, Kavina's car with weapons unleashed rapidly approaching the scene of the battle. Guess even in another universe, she wouldn't let anybody else ride her car. A wise man once said, "Not my car." Alistair, you all recht? Swampfire ran to Predator's side. He nodded with a toothy grin. "Don't worry, something like that can't bother me." Swampfire sighed in relief, patting his back. "Thank goodness. I got worried." Before Ken and Kavina got out of the car, "You two all right?" They nodded, before hearing a loud engine revving up. Turning to look, they saw a small spaceship lifting into the air before Octagon's voice came through a speaker. "Would love to stay and chat, fellas, but I think getting our money is more important. See you later." Swampfire's eyes widened. "Damn it, they're going to get away." Predator growled, "Not on my watch." With another red light, he transformed yet again, hypnotic. "Hold on, Yen." Grabbing Swampfire with his tongue, he flew towards the spaceship that was trying to get away. Oh whoa, what is this alien? And not an alien. A predator. Focus! As they got above the spaceship, Hypnotic dropped Swampfire on it. Stomping her feet on the ship, vines grew from Swampfire's legs and stuck her so she wouldn't fall. As she punched the ship, her arm went through the metal roof before she tore it off. But they were greeted with guns aiming at them. Swampfire groaned, "Don't you guys ever learn?" Ignoring her, they began to shoot. Just for all the lasers to go through her without her reacting, while Hypnotic turned intangible to ignore the shots. As Hypnotic released a red mist, he created several red-colored patterns of concentric and overlapping circles which hypnotized the criminals, immobilizing them by giving them hallucinations of whatever they most desire. "Hey Jen, restrain them." He looked at Swampfire. "I'll take care of their ride." As Swampfire nodded, creating several thick vines to restrain them, Hypnotic flew to the front end of the ship before sinking his large fangs into it, destroying the engine and causing it to descend at a concerning speed. "Oh whoa, we're falling fast," said Swampfire, holding a vine that was connected to all the criminals she had just knocked out. "Need some help here, Al?" Don't worry, it's under control." Crawling up, he transformed with a red light. "Lullaby. Just try to stay still so I don't accidentally drop you." Motiferum silentium description, predator of sonorosians. This species feeds on sound, and what better source of sound than a living microphone? The tentacles of this species serve to rip off the sonorosians' suits and leave their living sound wave bodies exposed. The same tentacles serve to absorb these waves. The tentacles of this species can multiply if the prey decides to clone itself. Grabbing Swampfire and the passed-out criminals, he lifted into the air again. The Tectrix expanded to swallow the spaceship, because Alistair wasn't willing to let it go to waste, before he flew towards Ken and Kavina. Setting them all down, they both transformed back, with Jen giving a bright smile as she high-fived him. "Good job, Al. We make a great team." He smiled back. "Of course we do. We're partners back in my universe, remember?" She nodded smugly, "And for good reasons." "A good job, you too." Ken smiled. "I've already contacted the plumber headquarters. They'll be here to apprehend these guys in a bit." "All right, that's less work for us to do." Jen stretched and Alistair had to put up an act. "Plumbers? I don't think you're talking about the kind that I think." Jen had a look of realization. "Ew, right, you don't know about that yet." "Oh well. It's not like it's going to take you long to find out about it, so I guess I'll explain it while on the way to the HQ anyways." Kavina looked confused. "Wait, now that I think about it, how do you know Professor Paradox, but don't know about the plumbers?" Alistair shrugged, already prepared. "I'm a living paradox, just like Professor Paradox, but I didn't have the time powers he has. But I can vaguely feel it when someone time travels. I was worried about this person messing around, so I confronted him and found out he's pretty chill. That's how we met." She nodded, seeming to have understood, because she dropped the subject. After the plumbers arrived and took the criminals, the trio got into Kavina's car, which Alistair was excited for with how legendary it was, and went to the plumber headquarters. When they arrived and exited the car, Alistair looked around in amazement. Being in the headquarters of such a big organization felt pretty cool. The place was especially advanced. After all, it monitored the space and any visitors from it. Jen, walking next to him, smiled, lightly elbowing his side. "Pretty cool, right? This place is the headquarters of the Intergalactic Police of Earth after all. It's the place that protects the universe." "Yeah, really cool." He nodded in amazement, looking at the high-tech devices and plumbers running the place. Laughing at his reaction, she grabbed his hand and started running. "Come on, didn't you say you want to meet Grandma Max? Let's go meet her then." Alistair couldn't hold the laughter as he followed. Looking forward to the funny sight he was good to see. He had to prepare himself beforehand to not burst into laughter and wheezing. It would be very rude. Glancing at each other in amusement, Ken and Kavina followed the two. The ground entered a personal room, which seemed to be more of a kitchen than an office. Grandma," Jen called out, and Alistair already found it hard to hold in his snicker. Grandma," she called again, and a feminine voice answered. "Yes, Jen?" "Oh, hi, everyone. Want some of this soup? I just cooked it." Looking at the old lady in white pants and a Hawaiian shirt carrying a pot with purple tentacles peeking out, Alistair immediately lost his composure. "Ah ha 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 ha. And no, ik ha 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 hunt. Ha ha ha." He fell to his knees, holding his stomach and onto the cabinet as he teared up from laughter. "Oh my god, ha 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 ha. G Grandpa Max. It is Grandpa Max, haha. Maxine was surprised by the sudden reaction, opting to look at Jen, who smiled awkwardly. Sorry, Grandma Maxine. This is Alistair, a friend of ours from another universe. The reason why he's acting like this is because we're all in opposite genders in his universe, so he starts laughing like this whenever he sees someone he knows in the opposite gender. Don't mind him, alright. Oh, so he's a friend? God bless her, she didn't mind his rude behavior. Putting the pot aside, she smiled at the wheezing boy. Hello, Alistair, it's nice to meet you. But I guess you already know me. He nodded, trying to calm his laughter as he got up, coughing due to how hard he was laughing. Yes, why yes, ha 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 ha. I am so sorry, alright? It's nice to meet you too. But yes, I know you, but as well, ha 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 ha, as a Grandpa Maxe instead. Finding his laughter contagious, she laughed softly as they shook hands. Oh? Well, that's something I want to hear more about. How about you explain more while we're eating? Chapter 50, ch 48, Sudden Development e-food, huh? The trio groaned with an awkward smile, staring at the dish Maxine was preparing while trying to hide their disgust. Jen quickly tried to change the menu. How about I order some takeout instead, huh? Alright, that way Alistair will be able to see what new foods there are. Ken deadpanned at her. This is a secret hideout, remember? And all hope left Jen. Right. Chuckling at their reaction, he patted Jen's head. Alright, no need to make that face. Catching her attention as he stepped into the kitchen. Can I use your kitchen for a minute, Grandma PFT? He Grandma Maxine? Maxine raised an eyebrow. What are you going to do? He answered with a smirk. Show you why my universes Ben, Gwen and Kevin treat me like a god. You all just sit down and wait for a bit, we can chat while I'm cooking. You can cook? Jen's eyes widened and Kavina smirked at her. Geez, Jen, maybe you should learn a thing or two from him. You don't even know how to cook eggs. Jen glared. You're one to talk, Kavina. Please elaborate on what kind of 5-star dishes you can cook. Kavina shrugged, smirking. At least I know how to boil simple eggs. You on the other hand? P.S. Ha. Jen crossed her arms with a scoff. Even I know how to boil eggs. Kavina raised an eyebrow. Can you? Jen was silent before giggling awkwardly and scratching her cheek. Alright, that's enough, girls. Ken intervened, pushing Kavina towards the table and sitting her down. Don't start arguing. As they chatted while waiting, Alistair began cooking a delicious meal by turning the Nemetrix's mass into the needed ingredients. Seriously, he couldn't be more thankful about making such a masterpiece. So you guys are still on that road trip, huh? Sitting with hands clasped behind her head, leaning back, Jen smiled with nostalgia. Takes me back, man. That was such a wild experience back then. Ken chuckled with a smile. That's true. We were kids, you had just gotten the Omnitrix, and were always making some kind of a trouble. Jen glared with a smirk. Hey, don't talk as if you were so innocent back then. And besides, you used to be so annoying back then. Always nagging. Lay off a little, will you? Ken scoffed. Well, it was that nagging that kept you a bit in check. Otherwise, God knows what kind of problems you'd make. Kavina turned to the still cooking Alistair, who was smiling at the cousins' interaction. By the way, something got me curious. She got everybody's attention as Alistair hummed, What's up? Kavina, it's about that picture you showed us. Why am I in it? Should the Kevin in your universe be your enemy at that time? Alistair, E.O.? Is that how it went here? They nodded and he continued, Well, I guess I didn't let it happen. Because I recruited you after seeing your powers. Kavina, recruited him? Alistair, that's right. I thought it would be a waste for someone with useful powers like that to rot away in the streets, so I persuaded him with the promise of giving him a safe place and taking care of his living needs. He has been getting used to the group ever since. He needs a little training in both personality and his powers since they make him violent, but he's a talented kid. He'll learn to grow. I see. Kavina mumbled, so I guess that kid got lucky, huh? Kavina would be lying if she said she wasn't sad. She lived through hell and back before meeting the Tennysons. But the Kevin in the picture looked so happy and comfortable. I guess I regret not accepting Jen's hand back then, huh? Seeing her sad, Ken gently placed his hand on hers. Babe. Seeing his sad, caring face, Kavina's sadness was replaced with a smile. But I guess it all turned out well in the end, huh? I guess I should be thankful that another version of me won't go through what I did. I'm alright, babe. I promise. Alistair suddenly chuckled to lighten the mood. Actually, I wasn't planning on persuading him with words at first. Kavina, what? Alistair, I knew he'd have a rough personality. So I was actually going to beat him into submission before forcing him to join us. Jen's mouth flew open, speechless. Wait, that's slavery. Alistair chuckled. Yeah, I was planning to beat the shit out of him with menace. Yen, who es menace? Alistair, the tall and bulky tiger with claws coming out of his wrists? You don't have that. Jen's eyes widened. You have wrath. And you were planning on going after Kavina, well, Kevin, in this situation, with wrath? Alistair smirked smugly. Nah, not just a wrath, but ultimate wrath. Jen grew even more shocked. You have ultimate wrath. Seriously? Alistair grew even more smug. I have ultimate everything, Jen. Be it my aliens or predators, all of them can go ultimate. Pretty cool, right? While Jen was shocked speechless, Kavina rubbed her forehead. Wrath, not only were you planning on beating my male version into joining you, but you were planning to do it with wrath of all things. And not just the normal big, mean, anger issues 24/7 wrath, but the ultimate version of that guy. Were you planning to beat him or kill him? Alistair groaned awkwardly. Well, that's why I gave up on that idea. I wasn't confident in my self-control as ultimate menace, so I thought I'd take the more civilized option. They all sighed in relief. Thank God you did. Chuckling at their interaction, Maxine looked at Alistair. By the way, so how did you get your watch, Alistair? Nemetrix, was it? It's kinda a weird story, he said, finishing the food and bringing it to the table with a smile. So how about I explain while we're eating? Getting a sniff of the food's aroma, they immediately gulped, almost drooling at the smell alone. And when he took the lid off, it was like the food shone like a treasure. As he dug the spoon into the mac and cheese, they almost creamed at the sight of the spoon digging into the cheese. Forget about using his charms, Alistair was about to make Jen wet with just his food. That's what an amazing mac and cheese does to you. And they were about to find out why Alistair's threats using his food were so useful towards Ben and the others. Even if I die today, Jen leaned back on her chair, hand on her stomach and wearing a blissful smile, I would die happy. That was paradise in the form of food. As they looked at Alistair, he shone like a divine being in their eyes. Maxine wiped her mouth, impressed and smiling. I have to give it to you, Alistair, you know how to cook. Before growing a bit smug, I guess you learned a thing or two from me in your universe. But that only earned her a bunch of bombastic side eyes. Stretching her arms, Jen's hands moved to behind her back again. Seriously though, thanks for the meal again, Al. That was fantastic. Hey, do you think maybe you could make me some food before you go back? He chuckled as he nodded. Sure, no problem. Just don't let them go bad. Jen scoffed with a smirk, TSK, as if. They probably won't last for 2 days. Ugh, but I have to watch my weight though. Ugh, why can't I enjoy such delicacies as I want? Oh, you don't have to worry about your weight. Alistair smiled, catching her attention as he smiled. Because of the ingredients I use, the food gives you the needed calories before all of it becomes nutrition. Basically, instead of getting fat from extra calories, you'll only get more fit thanks to the nutritions. With Jen being Jen, he expected an exaggerated response. Or at least an expression. But she simply froze in place while staring at her. Just as he was getting worried about her, she suddenly grabbed his hand with both hands, a dead serious look on her face. Marry me. Everybody choked on their own spit. It was Alistair's turn to freeze, before his face lit up in a blush. Huh. WW, what are you saying? But her hold on his hand grew even tighter, the fire of determination burning even brighter in her eyes. I said marry me. So marry me. Hold on now. See, calm down, you're overreacting. Overreacting? I'm reacting as anybody with a sane mind would. No, like seriously. It's not that I don't like you, but you're seriously overreacting. Since you like me, I don't see any further problems. Listen to me, geez. This is too sudden. Sudden? Of course it's sudden. You suddenly pop out of nowhere and suddenly make the most delicious food I've ever tasted and suddenly say that instead of making me fat, it makes me even fitter. Yeah, it's sudden all right. And I have to take that sudden chance before I suddenly lose the chance, sis. Ever heard of the way to a woman's heart is through her stomach? Well, that's exactly what you did. So let's date or whatever. No, seriously, just listen to me for a second. We don't even know each other well. Most couples don't know each other before dating or approached one another with the intentions of possibly dating. I don't want to test whether we can date, I want to date you. And am I wrong? You suddenly pop up while being the embodiment of a husband material. Handsome as hell, check. Built like a brick house, check. Charming, funny, smart, check, check and check. And you have a version of the Omnitrix? Who am I supposed to date but you, pretty boy? Oh well. Alricht, no, Gott Äthere. Look, you're my bro in my universe. Getting with the female version of my bro would be a violation of the bro code and our brotherhood. Bro, FUCK your brotherhood. She snapped, making him place his free hand on his chest. I'll beat my alternative self's ass if he tries to get in my way of getting the perfect boyfriend. Oh well, alright, I guess we can work this out. But we're dating for now, marriage is too much for now. Yes. Hell yeah. She shot up, arms up in the air in victory. While Alistair sighed, before giving up and chuckling in amusement, the speechless spectators were speechless. Damn, she really just speedran getting a boyfriend. Grabbing his hand again, she wiggled her pretty eyebrows with a grin. Don't worry, pretty boy, I'll treat you well. Finishing with a wink as he exhaled in amusement, shouldn't I be the one saying that? She giggled smugly, adorably again, causing Alistair's heart to tighten. Damn it, Nemetrix. Why you gotta make me like her so much already? But I guess it's not just the Nemetrix either. Seriously, this is a female Ben 10, who wouldn't be charmed? Noticing the gazes of the others, he coughed in embarrassment. Sorry about that, guys. Believe me, she took me by surprise too. And that's saying something. Maxine smiled awkwardly. No, don't worry about it. I guess all of us got surprised by her outburst. Kavina, yeah, she really did surprise us. Nearly made me choke to death on my own spit, geez. Jen smirked. Idiot. Kavina narrowed her eyes threateningly. You wanna go, Jen? Don't think I'll go easy on you just cause you just got a boyfriend. Jen smirked back in challenge. PSH, more like I need to go easy on you out of consideration for my cousin. Kavina smirked back. EPSH, as if you and your little boyfriend together wouldn't be able to go up against me together. Jen's smirk grew smug. Actually, that'd just be unfair. After all, not only can my boyfriend turn into aliens, he can also turn into predators. Clearly proud of her new love. Jen smirked. Then Alistair, shall we spar? I promise you'll learn a thing or two from the professional here. Chapter 51, ch 49, Alistair versus Jen. Before Kavina could continue the argument, Ken turned to Alistair. Right, what's with that? What's the difference between aliens and predators? Jen and Kavina narrowed their eyes at each other but grew genuinely curious. Stopping their bantering, they looked at Alistair, who explained, the name is pretty self-explanatory, no? Basically, predators are the natural predators of aliens. They're species that have evolved specifically to prey on certain alien species. The DNA samples of those predators are in the Nemetrix. Hence the name Nemetrix. Nemesis Trix. So you can turn into my aliens on top of being able to turn into their natural hunters? Jen raised an accusing eyebrow, sighing as he smiled sheepishly. Great. I guess your universe's Azimuth is an awesome guy, unlike ours. Atzmut? Oh, he's the creator of these watches. He's a Galvan like gray matter. Or whatever you call yours. It's Brainiac. And not a bad name. Alistair, thank you. Jen started thinking about something for a moment before smirking at Alistair. Then, Alistair, shall we spar? Don't think just because you have predators or whatever you'll be able to win. I promise you'll learn a thing or two from the professional here too. Alistair's lighthearted smile turned into a small, evil smirk. You sure, sweetheart? You do realize that predators have powers that completely counter their prey, right? But Jen didn't seem worried. Oh, please. You're talking as if I haven't gone against enemies that have had counters for my aliens. Don't worry though, I won't be too mean to you. Chuckling sinisterly, he got all up and personal with her, both of them smirking. Yo, it's on, Jen. It's on. This ought to be interesting. Maxine mused. All right, I'll have the guys prepare the sparring field so you can have fun. As Maxine left the room, Alistair reached out a hand to Jen. Give me your left hand for a second. All right. Jen grabbed his hand, growing amazed at how rough and strong the larger hand was. She grew conscious of how even his fingers were muscular and how they flexed around her hand. But she was pulled out of her amazement as he suddenly transformed, ultimate Brainiac. The Galvan Chad with a jawline gifted by the Galvan Jesus himself appeared, the tail-like appendage attached to the back of his head floating gracefully. Oh. Jen's eyes widened as he stood on her palm, Kavina and Ken closing in to see as well. Ken looked especially amazed. So this is the ultimate version of gray matter? Gray matter is smart as it is. Who knows how smart this guy is? Very, very smart. Ultimate Brainiac smirked, voice smooth like butter. Here, let me show you. As he casually waved his hand, the area around his hand suddenly turned into pure white. Not as if painting the thin air, but as if everything in the area his hand passed through simply disappeared. Ceased to exist entirely. A chill ran down the trio's spines at the scene before Jen questioned, Alistair, what did you do? His smirk turned dark. I decoded this part of the universe. They felt the same chill as he continued, ultimate brainiac has intelligence far beyond comprehension. It's to the point where he can calculate existence itself. As if the universe itself is a calculation to him. And well, by subtracting some things from that calculation, he can erase things from existence with just his intelligence. I like to call it decoding though. It's more fun. As he looked up, he mused at their shocked faces. Eyes and mouths wide open at what they heard. His smile turned light-hearted again as he swiped his hand over the white spot, causing it to go back to normal. But well, I can simply add that subtracted part back to the universe, causing it to recover. So the effect isn't permanent. If I don't want it, that is. Anyways, we got off topic there. Moving up on her hand, he started to mess with Jen's Omnitrix, causing her to come back from her shock trance. What are you doing now? Don't tell me you're going to erase the Omnitrix from existence. Ultimate Brainiac rolled his eyes as Jen covered her omniverse. No, I'm not, geez. Don't worry, I promise you'll like this. Hast me alrecht? Why would I even do that? Ooh. Jen smiled sheepishly. All right, since you asked nicely. As she lifted her hand, they watched him mess with the Omnitrix for a bit before closing it. They're done. They looked confused, but the Omnitrix's voice suddenly came, Master Control unlocked. They were shocked stupid again. You know how to unlock Master Control? Jen exclaimed, and Ultimate Brainiac, with a smirk, transformed back. Of course I do. Figured out the trick long ago. Oh, but yours is temporary though. It's active only for a few hours, so we can spar for as long as we want with anything we want. Jen grinned. You do realize that there are over 1 million transformations in this, right? You think you can fight against all of them? Alistair smirked. I don't think I can. I know I can. Also, sorry to burst your bubble, but I didn't activate the full power of your Omnitrix. You still can only transform into what you've had until now. Come on. You're just scared. No, I'm not. Since the creator of the Omnitrix still hasn't given you its full power, then I can't do it either. The free transformation for a bit is already enough. Fine. She sighed before cheering up again, but I guess I can't be disappointed either. I can kick your butt with my own aliens anyway. He scoffed lightly, smirking. We'll see, Jen. We'll see. Standing in the huge arena fit even for Humongosaur to use easily, Alistair and Jen stared at each other confidently. Shall we start? Alistair smirked as Jen smirked back. I don't see why not. Smacking the Omnitrix, she transformed. Humongosaur. Oh yeah, baby. On the first try, ha 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 ha. Seeing Humongosaur with tits, Alistair didn't know how to feel. Come on, Alistair, let's hustle. With pleasure. And he transformed as well. T-Rex. The predator of Humongosaur, the giant space dinosaur, appeared with a roar, talking through the Tectrix. Then let's see how you fight with your natural predator, Jen. Looking up at T-Rex, who was twice her size just in height, Jen was speechless. The predator concept was cool as hell, but I don't think I like it very much now. With a roar, T-Rex rushed towards Humongosaur. As his jaw snapped at her, she dodged to the side quickly before throwing several punches. As he groaned, she rushed and grabbed his head, intending to push him away and make him fall. But she underestimated T-Rex's strength. He was the natural predator of Humongosaur's species for a reason. Standing firmly, he pushed her away instead before lifting her up and slamming her to the ground. Humongosaur groaned, the slam making her let go of T-Rex. As he stood up, his jaw snapped towards Jen. Her eyes widened before he was blinded by a green light. He didn't stop his attack, but only managed to bite the ground. Looking down in confusion, he heard something sliding on the ground at a fast speed. He turned to see XLR8 smirking at him. Sorry, but power isn't all there is to it. Catch me if you can. Disappearing from place, he felt her attacks from all over the place. Although her attacks didn't do much, he wasn't able to do much thanks to her speed. I don't mind if I do. He smirked sinisterly, transforming again, Polyvoid. As the giant pelican-like alien with a body akin to a rhino appeared, XLR8 smirked, and I thought some of my aliens were ugly. Polyvoid description, predator of Kinocelerans. Can absorb kinetic energy to slow down Kinocelerans, rendering them unable to run. It can create a vacuum from its mouth that sucks everything in the vicinity inside, and is strong enough that Kinocelerans can't escape from it. It's too heavy and durable for Kinocelerans to move or damage. But Polyvoid just smirked as her attacks had no effect. Sorry, babe, but I care more about efficiency than the appearance. Suddenly her speed dropped sharply. Hey, what gives? But her eyes widened as his thick tail crashed into her, shooting her away. You good, Jen? He snickered, but was struck by lightning after she transformed again. Grar. As he roared in pain, Amphibian, the jellyfish-like electric alien, floated out of the dust. "Ah, I'm not hurting you too much, am I? Feel free to stop anytime it's too much." The electricity grew even more intense, causing his roars to grow louder with it. "Don't even count on it." Unidentified DNA detected, proceeding to scanning. Amphibian groaned, "Oh, perfect." While the Nemetrix continued, new alien and predator DNA unlocked, Ampery and Intactylus turtor. Intactylus turtor description: this predator usually floats through the gases of the planet Teslos hoping to find some prey. When it finds it, it propels itself quickly in its e-propulsion mode. Look at the second image. This species has 2 brains, each of them thinks of different actions to prevent the Amperus from reading their mind and knowing their next move. This species can become intangible like Amperus in case they want to escape from inside the mouth or stomach, since the amphibian's intangibility is cancelled when facing another intangible being. Like all species of Teslos, it has adapted to manipulate the power of the electromagnetic fields of this planet. In this case, it uses them to fly faster in the gases of Teslos, using this energy to propel himself. Alistair transformed yet again, electrical. As his new predator appeared, Amphibian's lightning was absorbed by him. "I told you. Whatever you have, I have the perfect counter for it." With a roar, a red lightning breath was shot from his mouth. But Amphibian chuckled, "Bold of you to assume I wouldn't be able to do the same." Instead of harming her, the lightning was absorbed instead. But her eyes widened as Electrical showed up charging behind the lightning. "Damn it." Just as she was about to get hit, she transformed hastily, goop, causing no damage to be received when he crashed into her liquid body. "Can't hurt what you can't hit, Al." But he smirked, "You're really underestimating me. Don't forget that this predator isn't just about pure strength." Oh no dash. As his red electricity surged through his body, Goop's anti-gravity projector was electrocuted, causing her to turn into a green puddle on the ground as Electrical kept it at bay. She transformed again, and Electrical felt all the electricity he was releasing get absorbed quickly. Chromastone. Just as his eyes widened, a rainbow-colored beam shot him away. The electricity she had absorbed from him had supercharged her attack. "Thanks for the boost, Al. You're a real sweetheart." As he got up, her rainbow beams came shooting him again. He roared in pain, backing off as her supercharged attack actually hurt. He heard Jen's smug laughter. "Let me guess, you don't have a predator for Chromastone, right? After all, there has only been one living Crystalcipian. How could a predator have evolved to hunt down a single alien?" He gritted his teeth, actually hurting, but still grinned. "Damn, I guess I underestimated Jen's intelligence." You're seriously smart if you figured that kind of a method to counter me, but it's not like I don't have other methods of beating you. If I can't negate A/N, negate your powers, then I'll outmuscle them." And he transformed, Crabdozer. As Heat Blast's natural predator was resistant to some energies, he was able to charge towards Chromastone while ignoring some of the pain. Jen, used to quickly transforming now, turned to XLR8 to quickly dodge and make some distance, before rushing towards Crabdozer quickly. But suddenly she transformed in the middle of running, Armadillo. She came flying towards him as her mechanic hands turned drills, and she threw a punch at Crabdozer. The force behind the running and Armadillo's strength enough to knock him off his feet. A/N, guys, a quick notice. Please read this part. You see, I was under the assumption that you couldn't post fanfiction on Patreon, hence why I wrote my own book to earn some money. But I found out that it's actually legal. Guys, I'm a college student in an unfamiliar city where I don't know anybody, so I'm actually really in need of money since I don't want to be too dependent on my parents. I already have a part-time job too. If you can emphasize on the CAN, then please feel free to support me on my Patreon, that_1_dead_Ollie, where I will be posting chapters early. The prices are really low too, I think, chapter 52, ch50, going back, that was fun. The two sat together on the ground, exhausted after fighting to their heart's content. Jen grinned. "You know, it's really fun to be able to go all out like this without worrying." Alistair nodded, even happier than her. "True that. That was a blast. Seriously, you're one tough opponent though. I picked your aliens predators every time you transformed, but still struggled. You really started rocking after getting the hang of rapid transformation." He had to admit, she truly was amazing. Years of saving the world had made her one hell of a beast in a battle when she actually put her mind into it. Even when he would turn into the hunters of her aliens, she would instantly turn into another alien that could counter that predator. There was a reason why she couldn't get the aliens she wanted when transforming. If she did, Ben 10 Omniverse fights wouldn't last 1 minute. Jen's grin grew smug as she laid her head on his shoulder. "Of course. Do you know how long I've been doing this?" Just because you have transformations that negate mine's abilities doesn't mean you've immobilized me. Chuckling, he placed his head on hers. Well, I'm glad that my babe's a badass. Hey, you're no slouch either. Just the fact that you didn't lose against me is awesome, considering who I've fought against and won. Thanks for the acknowledgement then. Her grin turned into a teasing one, although just barely. He rolled his eyes lightheartedly before grabbing her nose and making her giggle. We'll see in the future then, Jen. I'll kick that sexy butt of yours one day. So you like my butt? She put on a mischievous face, making him jolt when she slapped his ass. Can say the same thing about your ass, baby. Damn that firm ass. Hey! He exclaimed, but she simply fell down and cackled, holding her stomach as he gave her the aggressive sulk look. Oh, I get what kind of a girlfriend she is. The constantly messes with you type. Don't worry, I love your ass. Laying on her side with her hand supporting her head, she poked his side with a cheeky grin. But when she saw him jump, her grin stilled, before turning mischievous as he looked away. Alistair, baby. It can't be that you're ticklish, right? Although she couldn't see his face, the way his ears turned red made her smile widen, and not in a good way. I see. I guess I've gotten a lot of useful information today. Hey. Ha, seems like I gotta be more on guard with her than when I'm against my enemies. So you're going already, huh? Jen sighed. Alistair with a smile. Yeah, but don't be like that. Remember, I can come here any second I want. And believe me, I'm going to be visiting a lot. As he chuckled, he pulled a laugh out of her too. But I gotta go now so that my team doesn't get worried about me. They can be real worrywarts too. Jen nodded with a smile. True, can't make them panic. But it's sad that we can't even communicate when we want since there's no cell phone that can make a call to another universe. Alistair hummed thoughtfully before grinning. If there's none, I can just make one. Making the other's eyes widen. Wait, what? He snickered Andrew Garfield style. Just give me a second. Before transforming, leave it to Ultimate Brainiac to solve all relationship issues. As he stood on Jen's hand, the Tetrix covering him in slick armor turned into a mini version of his high-tech phone. She looked at what he was rapidly writing, which were formulas that gave her a headache by just looking at them. What are you doing? He answered without stopping. I'm writing the calculations for a device that can enable universal communication. It would take a bit for me to make it myself, that's why I'm writing down the method so that the professional mechanic can solve our issue. Oh, you mean Dash, but she was interrupted by him jumping off and transforming. Ultimate Tinkerer. The evolved version of Tinkerer, Jen's jury-rig, appeared with a wide grin. He was larger than his countertop part, green in color, and with 2 extra hands along with the end of his tail turning into a hand as well. Just leave this to the professional, Bay. Now let's fix. Fix. Evolved Planchicule. Enhanced strength. Enhanced speed. Enhanced durability. Enhanced stamina. Enhanced agility. Enhanced reflexes. Enhanced equilibrium. Technokinesis. Accelerated cell growth and division. Duplication. Appendage limb generation. Corrosive glue. With eyes on his phone, following the instructions, his hands moved as the Tetrix created the needed pieces for the device. Tinkerer was fast already when messing with technology, but in his ultimate form, he was probably faster than Godspeed/XLR8. Not even 10 seconds in, and he already had the device ready, all done. He proudly held a sleek phone in hand. Turning back, Alistair let the Tetrix absorb it before it created a new one. He handed the new one to Jen while the Tetrix turned into his phone, but an upgraded version. Now we can communicate whenever we want. My number's already saved by the way. Oh, thanks. She smiled brightly before winking. Now I'm not a clingy girl, but expect a barrage of memes every day. He smirked. Then you better keep an eye on your phone, 'cause I'm the meme lord for a reason. They looked at each in challenge, smirking confidently before breaking into laughter. Jen smilet, take care, Alricht? And visit often. Although calling you is fun, spending time together will be a lot better. You got it, Jen. He winked, before giving a 2-finger salute at her and everybody. All right then, I'll see you all later. Turning around, a blue spatial portal appeared. Adios. Alistair's universe. Seriously, what happened to him? Ben frowned, worry on his face evident as Kevin sighed. We looked back and he's suddenly gone. Completely disappeared. Max sighed, worried as well. Still no signs of him, Shago Gwen? The 2 girls who were looking for him with his computers shook their heads. No signs of him anywhere on Earth. But his vitals that are connected to the systems show that he's completely healthy. Even a bit better than normal, actually. Max rubbed his chin thoughtfully. So he's safe, but just got teleported to another place? Maybe to another planet entirely, that's why we can't find him on Earth. Shago turned thoughtful. Boss had absorbed another piece of Pody's Altair into the Nemetrix this morning, maybe it has something to do with that dash. Just as she was talking, she was interrupted by a portal appearing outside of the trailer. Ben's eyes widened. Whoa. What's that? Kevin's eyebrow rose in confusion. Is that a portal? Really? Shago frowned, turning serious. Be careful, kiddos. We don't know if whatever's coming out is friendly or not, so be ready for a fight. They nodded at her before the three of them walked out, ready to battle as Ben was ready to transform while the two charged up. Tigress and Zap with them, ready to attack. Max and Gwen meanwhile hid inside of the trailer, ready to activate its defenses any moment. But their eyes widened in shock as Alistair walked out with a smirk. What up, gang? Daddy's back in town. Alistair? He gave a two-finger salute, the one and only. Chapter 53, Yu-Gi-Oh! GX Notice Chapter 54, CH 51, A Fight in the Circus, E9, knocking over that yacht was a piece of cake. At a pierside carnival, two robbers climbed down a ladder into a getaway rowboat with a bag of loot while laughing. But suddenly they heard a whirring sound. Their heads moved quickly to take a look, but they didn't see anything. Frowning, they looked around, but still nothing. Hey, you heard that too, alright? One of them said in fear. But before the other could say anything, a growl was heard before a giant flying insect appeared in front of them with a loud screech. Their hearts nearly dropped to their pants as they screamed in fear. But as they backed off, two hands shot out of the water and grabbed their feet from behind, making them jump in surprise. HHH. What the fuck is going on? They screamed in fear, trying to free their legs to run away from the slowly approaching bug monster. Let go. Let go of me, you monsters. But the strength behind the hold was relentless. No matter how hard they tried, they couldn't escape. From the water, two aquatic aliens slowly surfaced, one with the Omnitrix symbol and the other with no such a symbol, with both of them smiling evilly. As the bug got dangerously close, tears glittered in their eyes. And when they saw the mouth around the two giant fangs stretch into an evil, predatory smile, they both passed out due to fear. Once they passed out, the trio froze, before bursting into laughter. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. They wheezed as Ben held his guts below the water. Did you see their faces? Ha 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 ha, etwas hilarious. Ha ha ha. Kevin, who had copied the powers of Ripjaws correctly under Alistair's guidance, couldn't hold back his laughter either. Ha 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 ha, they were scared shitless. They literally passed out from fear. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, that's what you get for stealing, punk. Wiping his tears with a tendril of the Tectrix, Alistair picked up the thieves. All right, as funny as this is, we should hand over these guys to the police now. Come on, guys. Zombozo's traveling circus of laughs? As the rust bucket passed through a town, Gwen read a sign. Cool. Ben's face twitched while Max smiled, taking a rest after leaving the driving to Shago. I haven't been to a circus since I was a boy. Sounds like fun. What do you guys think? Gwen smiled brightly. I love the circus. And Kevin, wanting to get closer to her, smiled as well. Same here. I love the funny clowns. While playing with Tigress and Zap, Alistair's gaze moved to Ben. It's that episode, huh? Gotta say, Ben couldn't be blamed for being scared of Zombozo. He freaked me out when I was a kid too. Ben rested his chin in his palm grumpily, muttering, that's because you two belong in one. Max, Ben. Ben smirked, before frowning again. Nah, circus is kid stuff.
Gwen, hello.
What are we? Kevin deadpanned, elderly apparently. Hey, that rhymed. Ben yawned loudly. Besides, it's pretty late. Max smiled. Ben, it's 11 o'clock in the morning. Shago behind the wheel smirked at the mirror. Kid, don't tell me you're scared of the circus. The kid's ears shot up as Ben quickly tried to refute. Scared? Me? Of the circus? No way. Gwen laughed. Yo, you totally are scared. Ben glared, suddenly speaking loudly and angrily. Fine by me. Okay, I'll recht. You guys wanna go see some stupid circus? Fine. As he rested his chin on his hand again, the others looked at each other in concern. Even Gwen, who wanted to make fun of him, understood the mood that it was a touchy subject. They walked towards a big top circus set up in the middle of a park. Lots of people were walking in with them. Either the circus was pretty famous or people were just interested. Of course, being worldwide celebrities, they couldn't just walk around casually. But Alistair wasn't one to cover himself up in clothes either. Too uncomfortable. So a simple perception interference device would suffice. Max smiled. Ooh, looks like the entire town's turned out for the show. As Ben walked, he looked up at the posters. They all feature a clown with red hair, a toothy grin and a big top hat. Zombozo. The clown's eyes seemed to stare down at Ben. Noticing his concern, Alistair smiled at the posters. Geez, even my predators are prettier than this fella. He managed to pull a laugh from the others, but Ben still didn't seem relieved. He faked a smile. It's probably sold out, we're probably just wasting our time. But suddenly a spotlight shone on a circus ringmaster on a pedestal, shouting to the crowd, step right up and see. The fingerless freak of nature, whose strength knows no bounds. Thumbskull. With his cane, he gestured to the burly man with unnaturally white skin and a fingernail on his forehead who walked forward with a metal rod at hand. Holding it behind his head, he bent it with a groan. The crowd was stunned, but Alistair just hummed in interest. Right, there wasn't a single clown here. Wait, he literally doesn't have fingertips. I always thought he just had black fingernails. A new evolution of existing Homo sapien DNA unlocked. Proceeding to fuse the existing DNAs. Thumbskull, human mutate. Enhanced strength. Enhanced durability. Enhanced jumping. That's nice, but nothing will happen to my fingers, right? Quickly checking his fingers, he sighed in relief when he saw them safe and sound. Phew, hey, Nemetrix, nothing will happen to my physical appearance if you scan these freaks, right? A new appearances will be unlocked thanks to new unique mutations being added to the codex, but unless you decide to change your appearance manually, nothing will happen. If you, thank God. Wait, but I'm an atheist though. As he frowned at his own mumbling, Thumbskull tossed the bent bar in the air and something red caught it. The circus ringmaster continued, and presenting Frightwig. When this beauty lets down her hair, no telling what could happen. And appeared a pale-skinned woman with long red locks of hair, moving and twisting at her command. Her hair effortlessly coiled the metal rod into a pretzel before placing it aside on a pedestal, where their last member, sporting a mouth guard, walked up to with the ringmaster's introduction, and last but not least, the freak whose unique skill is as vile as his attitude. Acid breath. A new evolution of existing Homo sapien DNA unlocked. Proceeding to fuse the existing DNAs. Frightwig, human mutate. Prehensile/elastic hair tentacles. Comikinetic combat. Hair walking. Enhanced strength. Enhanced agility. Enhanced flexibility. Enhanced acrobatics. As acid breath took off his mouth guard, he let out a vile green breath which instantly melted the rod and the pedestal with it. A new evolution of existing Homo sapien DNA unlocked. Proceeding to fuse the existing DNAs. Acid breath, human mutate. Acid breath. Acid spit. Acid ignition. Acid immunity. Enhanced agility. Gwen looked disgusted, gross. As did the rest of the group. Shago groaned in disgust, and I thought I had seen disgusting. Tell me about it. Alistair groaned, breathing into his hand to check for any changes. Which he thankfully didn't detect. As he sighed in relief, he decided to ignore Ben who snuck away. After taking a seat inside of the big tent, the circus ringmaster introduced the crowd to the act. Ladies and gentlemen. Children of all ages. The Circus of Laughter is proud to present, the Sultan of Smiles, the Crown Prince of Chuckles, the Grim Tickler himself, the star of our circus. Zombozo the Clown. A small clown car sped into the center of the floor, and a giant-seeming Zombozo emerged to the sound of a triumphant cymbal crash. And at his appearance the people began to laugh. Laugh a little too hard. A new evolution of existing Homo sapien DNA unlocked. Proceeding to fuse the existing DNAs. Zombozo, altered human. Enhanced strength. Enhanced agility. Limb extension. Illusion generation. Confetti teleportation. Fear consumption. Happiness consumption. Fear empowerment. Happiness empowerment. Lethal necrosis survivability. While Ben looked mortified, Shago and Kevin looked at Max and Gwen in confusion. They were laughing as if they had seen the funniest thing of their entire lives. Meanwhile, Alistair felt a sense of empowerment entering his body, enhancing him even further. He could feel it, the happiness of others slowly getting devoured by him. He had the ability active at its weakest to test the ability, but turned it off entirely at the best taste. Truly, this ability was the one he hated more than any other power he possessed, even among his transformations. What's going on here? Shago frowned at the two who were laughing uncontrollably. Kevin shook Gwen by her shoulder. Gwen? I really don't think this is that funny. But she didn't answer. She simply kept laughing loudly as Zombozo pulled off one trick after the other. He turned to the unaffected bunch. Is it me or is something really weird here? No, something is definitely weird. Shago turned serious. Alistair hummed to himself, I guess he can't affect them since they're not normal humans. He nodded towards the giant machine in the ring, which had been considered as a weird decoration by the people. It's that machine. After Nemetrix scanned Zombozo, I found out that he has the ability to consume fear and happiness. That machine enhances his abilities. And well, you can guess the rest. He's trying to drain these people of their happiness. Oh wait, what? They exclaimed in unison. Cracking his neck, Alistair got up. I'm really not in the mood to play cat and mouse with a clown of all things. So let's get this over with quickly. I'll take care of the clown, you all get the people out of here. They looked at each other before nodding. All right then, you got it. Ben was especially happy since he didn't need to deal with what he was scared of. Taking his hands out of his pockets, he leaped up meters into the air, catching Zombozo's and the people's attention as he shone red midair. What landed harshly on the ground wasn't Alistair, but a humanoid plant, predaplant. Ben transformed as well, Raph forearms, knocking the people out of their trance as he, along with Shago and Kevin, who turned into a complete Tetramand, got to work. All right people, it's time to get out of here. It's not safe here for civilians. With his feet stomping firmly onto the ground, he glared at the surprised clown. Hello, freak. You ready to get your ass kicked? Zombozo blinked, before smiling brightly. Well. It seems like we have a few special guests. And they seems to want to participate in little old me's show dash. Shut up already. Predaplant growled, believe me, I'm really not in the mood for your nonsense. I'm nearly out of Jen's love, so I'd rather get this over with quickly so I can have my fill again. So either just shut up and give up, or get ready for the worst beatdown of your life. So what will it be? The easy way or the hard way? Oh, feisty Tilde. Zombozo smiled crazily as a robotic tendril exited his machine, the Cyclown, and stuck to his back. Then let's get this new show running, shall we dash? But just as he was speaking, a punch landed square on his face, sending him flying as Predaplant cracked his knuckles. The hard way it is, punk. Around him he heard the panicking scream of the people who began to run for their lives. But he pulled back his attention to the clown who got back up with a punch imprint on his giant nose. You need a chill pill, don't you, you overgrown weed? Well, unfortunately for you, I'm more of a team player than a solo actor. Thumbskull, Frightwig and Acid Breath jumped into the scene. But even when he was surrounded, he seemed unbothered other than looking grumpy. Glancing at the four surrounding him from all sides, grinning as if they're sure of their victory, he flashed a giant D, cruel smile. What a coincidence, so am I. Before hitting the Nemetrix symbol, remix. And splitting into four, before they all slammed the Nemetrix symbol again. Chapter 55, CH 52, meeting up with Jen, E9, EN no. No. Stay away from me. Zombozo screamed, mortified and trembling in fear as he was carried away by the police in chains after having a one-on-one session with Eve. KK, keep that monster away from me. Shago tightened her lips as she watched him go. I guess not even crazy clowns can handle Eve's insanity, huh? Alistair snickered, as if anybody could. You do realize that he's literally my unhinged insanity, right? As if a clown of all people could stand up to my insanity. True, I guess. She shrugged. Alistair glanced at Ben, who despite being relieved that he didn't need to fight what he was scared of, looked like he was feeling guilty. He smiled. Hey Ben, wanna see if there's any food stalls that still sell something? I'm really hungry. Huh? Oh okay. Ben nodded, mood down as the two walked away. A hey dash a Kevin was going to follow, but Shago's hand covered his mouth. When he looked up, he met her glare. Learn to read the mood, kiddo. He looked confused, but didn't ask. As the two walked, searching for any functioning stall, Alistair asked, so what's the problem? You look kinda down. Oh, it's nothing. Ben looked even guiltier, but Alistair urged, come on, you know you can tell me anything, Ben. If something's bothering you, you don't need to keep it in. Ben looked reluctant, but sighed in defeat in the end. It's just that. I think what I did was wrong. What did you do? I'll leave all the fighting to you. Yeah, I'll admit since it's you, clowns freak me out. I was scared of him, so I decided to just run away from the fight. I don't think that's something to beat yourself up for. You know that handling something like this is nothing for me. Yeah, I know. And it's not that I'm feeling bad for leaving all the fighting to you, it's that I ran away from the fight. I was scared and didn't want to fight at all. It's just that. I suddenly thought of what would have happened if you weren't there to take care of the fight for me, and I got scared of what would have happened to the others if I was too scared to fight that clown. I don't think I'd be brave enough at that moment. As he hung his head low in guilt and shame, he felt Alistair's hand gently stroke his head. Ben, being afraid isn't something shameful. Everybody has a fear, no matter what species they are. Sure, we two aren't the most common of the bunch, but we're still living beings with emotions. Fear is as natural as happiness or sadness. Stopping, he got down on one knee to hold Ben's shoulder. You said you don't know if you'd be brave enough, but being brave isn't about having no fears. It's about being able to stand up to those fears when the time calls for me. He smiled as Ben's tense face eased up, and besides, you're a strong kid, Ben. I'm absolutely sure that if it's you, no matter what fear it is, you would face it like a true hero. I don't need the intelligence of any of my transformations to prove that theory, because I know what kind of a person my partner is. Ben could feel the tension leaving him. He hadn't ever said it out loud, but Alistair's opinion, as the only person who could understand his sense of responsibility, was probably greater than anybody else in his life. He was in the same boat as him. He was his partner and the person he knew he could lean on for support any time. Out of everybody else, Alistair's acknowledgement was probably more important than anybody else's. So hearing his trust and faith in him made all the doubts disappear. Ben finally smiled and nodded. Yeah, thanks, Al. Smiling back, he patted Ben's shoulders. You're welcome, chump. And remember, if there's anything that's bothering you, you already know you can always talk to me about it. Yeah. Ben smiled brightly, making Alistair chuckle. That's right. And it seems like there's no food stalls working anymore, so I guess we gotta go back empty-handed. Ahahaha, as if anybody would be stupid enough to stay here after what happened inside. Ahahaha, true. I'd be concerned about their mental health if they did. Anyway, let's go back now. When they returned, Shago smirked at Alistair while the others were talking. So I assume you talked it out? Alistair nodded with a smile. Yeah, it was nothing. He just needed some words of encouragement, that's all. Oh well, I'm glad that it worked out. He grinned. Gee, what a caring teammate you are. She rolled her eyes. Yeah, whatever. So much for a good circus show. The circus didn't sound entertaining anyway. What tricks can they pull that we can't do 100 times better? Tuche. Max smiled at the two. All right then, shall we hit the road again? Alistair shoved his hands into his pockets. You guys can go, I'm gonna go and spend some time with Jen in her universe. Shago raised an amused eyebrow. Gee, missing your girlfriend? As he rolled his eyes, Ben didn't look impressed. You know that I'm still conflicted by you dating a female version of me, right? He rolled his eyes again. Oh, come on. And we have the argument of what you would do if you met a female version of me, so I think I'm justified. Ben crossed his arms. Just because you've got a point doesn't mean that I'll be 100% okay with it. It's weird, dude. Wouldn't you be weirded out if I dated a female version of you? Nah, that would just prove that you've got good taste. Come on, look at me. I'm the peak of the human race. You think my female version would be any less? You're bullshitting if you say you wouldn't do what I did. Whatever. Ben turned away grumpily, refusing to admit he was right. Gwen turned to Alistair. By the way, when are you going to have us meet each other? The fact that there's a universe where our genders are reversed sounds like an interesting place to visit. Alistair shrugged. Don't worry, you'll meet them eventually. But not right now though. Anyway, bye-bye for now. As a portable appeared next to him, he walked in. Adios. Ben groaned. Geez, he really spends a lot of time there, huh? Making Gwen smirk. Just admit that you're jealous you don't get to spend time with him anymore. Ben glared. That's not true. It so is. It so isn't. It is. It isn't. As the two glared at each other, Max shook his head in amusement before they walked towards the rust bucket. Jens Universe. As the portal appeared, Alistair walked out to stand in front of Jen's house. A tendril moved from the Tectrix to his ear before turning into his phone and calling Jen. When she answered, he smiled at her cheerful voice. Hey, Al. What's up? He chuckled. Why don't you open the door and see for yourself? She gasped behind the phone. No freaking way. And he heard loud footsteps from the phone and then from the inside of the house before the door swung open to reveal Jen with a giant smile. Al? The one and only. He spread his arms as she threw herself into his chest. You're here. I missed you. Making him chuckle. But it's only been a few hours since I went back to my own universe. She scoffed, grinning mischievously at him. I don't care, I still miss you. Chuckling again, he hugged her back. I missed you too, babe. I came right here after taking care of a villain. Ayo. Which one? She smiled in interest. Wait, hold on. I don't have anything to do today, so wanna have a little date and tell me about it? Sure, I'd love a date. She let go and ran back in. All right then, just let me get my stuff and we'll go. After waiting for a bit, she came out. All right then, let's go. Go where? She grinned. Do you even need to ask? To Mr. Smoothie's, of course. Come on, we'll go with my car. You have a car? Jen got smug. Yup. You haven't seen it since Kavina is the one who drives us everywhere, but I've got my own ride. When they got to the car, Alistair nodded, impressed. Damn, Jen, nice ride. She's cool. Swinging the keys around her finger, she smirked. You've got that right. Her name's Mark 10. Courtesy of Kev. She made it for my birthday. Damn, that's cool. Making an actual car, huh? That's pretty cool as a birthday present. Exactly. So what did you get for her birthday? She coughed into her fist awkwardly. Some chili fries. Wow, Jen, vous. Ayo, get in the car already. Unlocking the car, she didn't miss a second before getting in and smirking behind the window. Get in already, pretty boy. He chuckled in amusement before getting in. All right then, let's go on our car date. Sure thing. Just get comfortable and let me take you out on a casual ride while we enjoy some smoothies. As she hit the road, she glanced at him just to see him already staring at her with a smile. She smiled back, face heating up slightly at the adoration in his eyes. What's up? Why are you staring at me? What? I can't look at my girlfriend. Sure you can, but it's not fair that only you can look while I need to keep my eyes on the road. Ha 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 ha, that sounds like a you problem. Whoa, what an amazing boyfriend. Ha 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 ha, don't act like you don't do the same. You stare at me all the time. She smiled mischievously, and I have every right to do so, pretty boy. I wanted to see the dreamy view of your hair moving with the wind just now while you're looking out. Why do you think I opened the windows right away? Alistair chuckled, his own face reddening as he shook his head in amusement. You dork. Jen smiled at managing to make him say whatever you want, but I stand corrected. It's worth it if I can see the always confident you blush. All right, I guess. Yeah, that's right. I'll even do things like this. Her slender hand suddenly landed on his thigh, making his leg jolt as she gave it a nice squeeze. Damn, baby, you thick. He couldn't help but facepalm, wheezing at her antics as she just smiled at his reactions. He was always so cool-headed and calm, so seeing such reactions had become Jen's favorite thing to do. When they reached Mr. Smoothie, they went in right away. Jen really loved her smoothies after all. Not a day without one. But when Alistair was getting his wallet out, she stopped him. It's on me. He put his wallet back into the Tetrix when she pulled out hers. All right then, thanks. After she grabbed their smoothies, she made a dramatic offer when they got up. Here, you can have the honor of being bestowed with a smoothie by me. Chuckling at her antics, he took it. I'm honored. Jen smirked. You should be. You may not realize it, but bestowing smoothies is the highest honor I can bestow upon someone. So yes, you should be honored. Laughing together, she smiled. So how about you tell me about your day while we're just riding around the city? Smiling, he tapped her smoothie with her own. Sounds like an awesome plan to me. Then let's go and have some fun. Chapter 56, ch 53, Jen's a homework folder? Ayo, Alistair. Jen's mother, Carly, opened the door to see Alistair. I didn't know you were visiting. He chuckled sheepishly. Yeah, I tend to just drop by. But I did message Jen telling I'm coming though. Didn't she tell you? Oh, by the way, please take this. Just a small gift. He gifted the box of chocolates, making Carly smile as she took it. Oh, you didn't have to, sweetie. But Jen's not home at the moment. She's outside hanging with Ken and his girlfriend. She probably just didn't bother to send me a message, that lazy girl. Huh? She's not here? Oh, I'm sorry for troubling you then, I'll go find them then. Ayo, no need. If she told you that she'll be home, then she's probably coming back right now. Why don't you just come on and wait? Won't I be troubling you? No. I can't just leave you standing outside. Please come on. As she opened the door, he walked in with a smile. Then thank you for having me. Walking in, he sat down on the couch while Carly disappeared for a moment. But came back while holding her purse before opening the chocolate box he had brought and putting it on the table. I'm sorry, sweetie, but I had plans before you came. You can just enjoy the chocolate while Jen comes back, all right? I'll be off then. Oh, also feel free to go to Jen's room. I bet it's messy as ever, so that'll teach her a lesson to tidy up her room. Bye-bye, Tin. Aha, wait dash, and before Alistair could stop her, she was gone. He stood frozen in place, before rubbing his nape awkwardly. Being alone in a stranger's house was one of the most awkward moments ever after all. With a sigh, he grabbed a handful of chocolates and threw one into his mouth. All right then, let's see what Jen's room has in store for me. Who knows, maybe I'll get some tease-worthy materials. Smelling the air, he tracked her scent to where it was most focused. Opening the door, he always groaned at the smell. It smelt good. Too good for his predatory instincts. Her scent had always caused him to be lost in it, but the scent here almost made him growl. He palmed his crotch, applying a bit of force to calm his junior down. Looking around, he chuckled at how messy it was. Male or female, they're the same, huh? But her open computer caught his attention. He raised an eyebrow. Yo? Well, what do we have here? Sitting behind it, his eyes immediately moved to the folder she had hidden instead of closing it. Alistair hummed, is this an asshole thing to do? Yes. Is it a violation of privacy? Absolutely. Am I willing to take revenge for all the times she has grabbed my ass? Most definitely. Clicking on it, his heart immediately melted. Yeah, she was looking at our saved photos? Ha 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 ha, we took this one in Mr. Smoothie's. Look at this one, even her funny faces are adorable. He looked at the photos with warmth in his heart and closed the images when he had run out of images to look at. Going back to maybe find some more, he stilled at a particular folder. It didn't seem different, nor did it have any suspicious images sticking out. But two things caught his attention. One, it was named a homework and two, it was locked. Homework, huh? He smirked. If there's anything I know about Jen, it's that she and homework don't go well together. If this is actually homework anyway. Clicking on it, he didn't even need 5 seconds to crack the code and enter the folder. And when he did, his mouth fell wide open, smiling in disbelief. Jesus, ha 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 ha. Damn, Jenny, didn't expect you to have it in you, ha 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 ha. It wouldn't take a genius to guess what he had found. Porn. Not one or two either. Girl had stacked for when the Wi-Fi go down. She either didn't trust the incognito mode or just wanted easier access to her goods. Welp, it's only right for a boyfriend to know his girlfriend's kinks. He made an excuse as easily as he breathed before diving right into one of the videos. Hello. Mom? Jen unlocked the door and walked in, taking off her shoes as she was greeted with silence. She frowned before realization hit her. Oh right, she was going out. Then hasn't Alistair come yet? He would have texted me if he came and there wasn't anybody home. But when she put her shoes aside to seem tidy, she froze when she saw a familiar pair of shoes. Ones that didn't belong to her household. Wait, if he's here but not in the living room, oh no. She sprinted towards her room, where muffled voices were coming from the inside. Jen nearly ripped the door off its hinges as she burst into the door, before freezing in place from the scene and the sounds. Alistair was seated on her chair, casually eating chocolate while watching the porn video she was so familiar with. Halting the chocolate piece right against his lips, he threw it in before smirking at Jen's tomato-like blushing face. Oh, well, what do we have here? You finally showed up? Hope you don't mind that I decided to entertain myself with a few interesting videos I found on your computer. Jen squeezed her eyes shut and took a deep breath before turning around, voice strained. You just wait here, I'll just go kill my real quick. Before she could run away, Alistair appeared behind her and picked her up by her waist. No. No need to be overdramatic, babe. Chuckling as he walked back to the chair, carrying Jen who thrashed in his hold. Let me go. Let me go right now so I can end myself. How am I supposed to live after you saw my porn stash, damn it? Sitting down, he sat her on his lap before stroking her cheek comfortingly, chuckling at how red she was. Don't be like that. Sure, it's embarrassing, but everybody watches porn. Yeah, but they don't have it discovered. Especially not the entire folder. But isn't this a good thing? His smile turned sultry, making her freeze as he started planting gentle kisses on her cheek and jaw. After all, this lets me know a lot about the things that you're embarrassed to share. What does that mean? She squirmed on his lap but didn't pull away. Oh, you know what I mean, baby. Kissing the corner of her plump lips, he pulled back with half-lidded, lustful eyes. Your kinks, baby. Your fetishes. Normally, I would have to slowly experiment to find what you are and aren't into. After all, if I tried something that you didn't like, it would be awkward. But thanks to your collection, that makes it a lot more easier. Jen avoided his gaze. The face he was making was too dangerous for her heart. What? How would you even know my kinks from a few videos? He chuckled. Jen, did the situation make you forget that you organize your videos based on their tags? Her eyes closed, her face grew to another shade of red, and she thought she just wanted to find a hole to bury herself in. Alistair chuckled again, kissing her cheek comfortingly. Come on, I said don't be like that. As I said, this makes things a lot easier. It will save us from a lot of awkward moments in the future, believe me. Yeah. Well, it doesn't save me from the current one. Oh, then I have a suggestion. He gained her attention. Smiling in amusement, he whispered seductively into her ear, how about we try out a few of your kinks? Her eyes flew right open, ears and neck lighting up in red before she looked at him hesitatingly. Well, but... I mean, isn't this too soon for our relationship? He smiled gently, taking her hand and interlocking their fingers softly. I know, and I won't do anything if you're not okay with it. It's just that. It was his turn to blush and rub his nape sheepishly. I guess I've fallen too hard for you. Every time I just can't get the thought of embracing you out of my mind. It has never been this bad with any other woman, to be honest. Sure, I've found other women hot, but it was always just thoughts of satisfying my lust. But with you, it's not like that. I want to embrace you, to shower you with every bit of my love, and make you drown in pleasure only I can provide. I want to make you an addict to my affection, just like how you've made me drown in yours. But as he was talking, two slender hands covered his mouth. All right, I get it. Looking down, he saw Jen blushing furiously. I get it, so stop before I pass out. Seeing her blush harder than ever while not being able to look him in the eyes, he couldn't help but chuckle lovingly. Gently grabbing her hands, he pulled them down with a soft smile. All right, how about this? Obviously, going all the way so quickly isn't good. I don't want you to think I'm in only for the sex after all. So we'll advance step by step. We'll go from the tamer kinks and lighter actions to more advanced ones slowly. Just like every relationship. We'll just start a bit early. How about it? Huh? Like what? She answered curiously, not against the idea. He smiled. Baby, you have kinks like face fucking , but was silenced by her hands again. Shoot up. Alistair couldn't contain his laughter, causing her to glare. Gently pulling her hands down to his muscular chest, he winked. So? Wanna try it that way? Blushing furiously with pursed beautiful lips, she mumbled under her breath, I guess we can try it earlier than most since we were going to in the future anyway. Chapter 57, ch 54, S. Masturbation, second S. A pairing, Alistair x Jen. Warnings, masturbation, A. Performing, voyeurism, J. Performing, facial, J. Receiving. I see. He smiled, planting a chaste kiss on her soft cheek. I'm glad to hear that. Then how about we explore one of your kinks already? Like what? She jerked as he gently but her jaw, feeling the lips on her jaw pulling into a smirk. How about your voyeurism kink? Isn't watching me jerk off one of your kinks? Pulling back, he stared into her eyes with his own doe ones. I promised to put on a good show, so how about it? Can we please? She stared into his beautiful eyes, lost in them for a moment, before gulping with a small smile. As if I could say no when you're giving me that face. But will you really do that for me? I thought you'd find it weird to let someone watch you while you jerk off. With others. Definitely. But with you. He gave her a sultry smile. I think that might just get me even hornier. So what do you think? Isn't this a pretty light kink to fulfill? Yeah. She nodded dumbly, gulping as her eyes moved down his body, noticing a large bulge beginning to form on his crotch, causing her to blush. Then shall we start? With a chuckle, he licked his lips erotically. You're pretty impatient for someone who was so embarrassed just now. Making her blush intensify. Ha, but yeah, we shall. Then where do you want me? Do you want me to jerk off on this chair with you sitting on my lap, or do you want me on the bed? Well, can you do it on the chair while I sit on the bed? She coughed, signaling down with her eyes. I wouldn't really be able to see because, you know. As his eyes curiously moved to her blessed chest, a dopey smile made its way to his face. Yeah, I think I know. And I'm glad for that. Making her roll her eyes with a giggle. Pervert. Babe, you don't have any right to say that. He snickered, making her pout. But before she could argue, he got up while holding. Yeah, whatever. Now don't ruin the mood and just enjoy the show. Putting her on the bed, he made sure that the window and the curtains were closed. Pushing the seat closer to the bed where she was sitting, he began taking off his clothes, smiling seductively while doing so. Now just enjoy the show. She gulped as she watched him take off his shirt in one smooth move, revealing his jacked body and nearly making her drool. She had seen people with good physiques, but it was like his body was crafted by the gods themselves. Her eyes inspected each and every muscle as if to memorize the appearance of each one. And Alistair just stood in place for a moment, letting her bask in his beautiful body, before continuing. Unlocking his belt and zipper, her heart pumped rapidly in her ears as he hooked his fingers with his waistband. She gulped, but didn't find any saliva in her dry mouth to send down. Seconds felt like hours as she stood there in anticipation, waiting for when the final treasure would be revealed. But if her eyes weren't locked on his crotch, she would have seen the mean smirk on his face. He was taking it slow deliberately just to rile her up even more. Come on. She mumbled with a bite of her lip, eliciting a low, deep chuckle. Ah, what's the matter, baby? Getting impatient? Amused at how she still didn't take her eyes off of his pants, he decided to leave the teasing to another day. He was getting impatient himself after all. Pushing the waistband, he finally freed his member, causing Jen to gasp at the size while just being soft. She gulped, eyes moving up and down nervously. Holy crap, how is T that huge? It's like a freaking snake. The snake of your dreams, that is. Stepping out of his pants and throwing away his socks, he sat down. All while Jen's eyes moved with each swing of his member, unable to stop looking at it. He grabbed it, causing her to let out a small, unintentional moan, and started stroking it up and down gently. So excited about the show already? We've just started though. Oh why yeah, but T, this is a lot better than I had thought. Jen licked her lips. It's bigger than anything I've ever seen even on the internet. It's seriously massive. I'm worried if I'll be able to handle it or not. Oh, you'll handle it all right. Biting his lip, his eyes roamed her sexy body, his dick slowly hardening. I'll make sure to prepare you for the day we have sex so that the only thing you'll manage to feel is overwhelming pleasure. Looking at it harden, Jen squeezed her thighs together, feeling herself get wet as his junior began to point up proudly. And when he was fully hard under her gaze, she was panting without even doing anything. Alistair's hand stroked his giant hard-on hypnotically, mesmerizing her as pleasured himself. His gentle groans and pants making her fall even harder. With him fully erect, just his dry hand wasn't enough anymore. So he stopped stroking, making Jen frown as he brought his hand to her mouth. Spit on it. Huh? She asked in confusion, but he smirked. I said, spit on it. I want to know what your saliva on my dick feels like. Riecht. She nodded. Gathering as much saliva as her dry mouth could make, she tucked her hair behind her ear before gently spitting in his hand. Spreading his legs to give his big balls some space, causing her eyes to get drawn to the firm and full testicles. As he grabbed his erection again, he let out a groan that sent a jolt of electricity down Jen's spine, making her even wetter as she watched him pump his hand up and down the massive shaft. He laid his head back, enjoying her unflattering gaze as he pleasured himself. Jen, meanwhile, was completely mesmerized. Her eyes and mind were completely on the erection getting stroked roughly, and she had half the mind to not reach out to grab it herself. To replace Alistair's large hand with both of her own and marvel at the sensation of it twitching in her hold. To feel what the pulsating veins in her slender hands. Twitching? That fucking dick doesn't twitch, it fucking thrashes around even when he's holding it so firmly. Fuck, I'm getting wet just by looking at it. Her rough breathing matched his despite her just watching. The smell from his body, especially the raw, thick smell emitting from his member, clouded her mind with lust. And with each stroke of his shaft, she felt like his pheromones became stronger and stronger. As if seducing her with just his smell. She didn't need to check to see the absolute mess in her underwear. She could feel it so vividly and felt even more wetness escape with each pulsation of her pussy. So focused. Alistair breathed in with a lustful grin, voice slurring from the pleasure and hand not stopping as he looked at the captivated Jen. Is this all it takes to satisfy you? Don't you want a personal order of what you want to see? His words rang in her head and she took her eyes off of his dick for the first time in a while. Then, see, can you play with your balls too, please? Ha, so polite even in this situation. He licked his teeth, but sure, I'm here to give you a show after all. Spreading his legs, his free hand moved to his balls, messaging them and giving her a good view of them, but never stopped his strokes. How is it? Do you like them? She let out a quiet moan, giving a nod as he let out a satisfied groan. Glad to hear that, 'cause these bad boys will be pumping a lot of loads into you one day. So you better show some love to them too. Her blush grew brighter, but didn't refute him. As he continued, he eyed her figure. Hey Jen, can you give me some visual stimulation too? Or jerking off to nothing will take a long time for me to finish. Huh? She groaned for breaking her attention again, but following his gaze to her large breasts, she blushed. Well. Stripping down in front of him was pretty embarrassing, but considering he was jerking off for him, that felt pretty fair. Alright. Grabbing her crop top, she shyly took it off, giving Alistair an amazing view of her large chest clad in but a bra. He took in a sharp breath through gritted teeth, sporting a large grin. Green and black bra? Why am I even surprised? The view was to kill for. Her large chests that tested his patience to bury his face in them were hugged tightly by the bra designed in her own theme. It took all his willpower to not pounce on her. She didn't take off anymore and he didn't ask for it either. He didn't want to force her. Instead, took what he already had with gratitude and increased the pace of his strokes. His gaze locked on her blessed tits and his imagination running wild on what they would feel like around his erection. And seeing the erect nipples under those pretty bras? His mind was filled with nothing but Jen and what he wanted to do with that voluptuous body. Neither of them noticed the passage of time. Too lost in each other's sexual beauty to care about the minutes passing like seconds. But when his high finally was in sight, he threw his head back with rapid breathing, but didn't lose sight of her tits. Jen noticed it too. How could she not when she was so focused on every twitch of his erection? And when breathing picked up, she knew that the prize was about to be unleashed. Fuck, I'm close, hey Jen. He grinned breathless, wanna fulfill another kink while we're at it? You seem pretty into facials, how about it? She gulped and nodded almost instinctively, alright, you can see come on my face and B boobs. And his grin grew impish, your huge tits too, huh? Even better. Standing up, he continued stroking as she stared at the one-eyed snake right in front of her face, threatening to shower her with its glorious poison any second. Fuck. He hissed, toes curling as he bit his lip harshly, I'm close, Jen. Gonna paint your beautiful fucking face and tits with my cum. Gonna mock you, babe. And with a final pump, Jen jumped as thick ropes of cum were shot one after another at her. Quick to close her eyes as he painted her in thick cum he released in ridiculous amounts. Enough to cover her face and chest that he would never forget. As he continued stroking to prolong his high, he made sure her tits got a good taste of his cum too. After calming down from his high, he looked down with a dopey grin at her cum-painted pretty face and the pool of cum that had formed on her large breasts. Now this is what I call a view. Gently wiping the cum on her closed eyes, she peeked up with erotic eyes. Was it necessary to cum tea that much? And why are you still hard? Geez, I am completely covered in your cum now. Yeah, as you should be. He chuckled deeply. As she saw him go to bring the tissue box in front of the mirror for her, his dick swinging around violently and heating her up even more, she made a daring move. Looking at the cum on her fingers, she licked it just as he turned to her, making sure to keep eye contact with him. His eyes widened and his still erect dick thrashed around. He growled with a bite of his lip, baby, you're making it really hard for me to keep my sanity. She smirked smugly lustfully as she gathered all his essence and swallowed it all, finding it surprisingly delicious, all while not breaking eye contact. Now you get a taste of what I just went through. Oh well, nobody said you can't dash, he smirked, but was interrupted by a shout from the door in the living room, Jen, I'm home Tilde. Hearing Mrs. Tennyson's voice, they both nearly jumped out of their skin. Yes shit, we took so long? Alistair looked at the clock while Jen panicked, quick, we need to hide, or anything. She looked down at her cum-stained figure, we can't let her see me like this. Jen? You home, baby? Did you meet up with Alistair? Jen panicked even more, crap, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? But Alistair quickly came up with a solution, wait, I've got an idea. Grabbing her and their clothes, careful to not smear himself with cum, he teleported them both to the bathroom. Alright, you clean yourself up here and I'll go distract your mom. Allricht. She nodded quickly, hurrying to open the shower as he dressed up. I'll be here for a bit to take a shower, alright? You don't let her find out anything. Alright, but hurry a bit or she might get suspicious. Being a gentleman, he didn't look as she stripped down fully and got behind the curtain. I can't. She mumbled, making him frown as he looked back to see her peeking through the curtain. Why not? You don't need to clean up that thoroughly for now. And no, I'll be taking care of business here. She mumbled shyly, and if not for his enhanced senses, he would have had a hard time hearing her over the shower. But when he did, his lips stretched into an impish grin. Oh. Is that so? Jen glared shyly, get out already, geez. Causing him to chuckle, alright. Take care of all your business until you're satisfied. And before she could bite back, he quickly teleported to Jen's room before walking to the living room. Mrs. Tennyson. Hello. He smiled politely, not seeming unnatural at all. As if he hadn't just showered her daughter with cum just now. Hello Alistair. I see you're still here. She smiled, where's Jen? She should have gotten home already, no? She's actually taking a shower. Those three got into a pretty nasty fight with a big alien, so she was all dirty and wanted to take a shower quickly. Is that so? A fight with an alien, huh? But unlike what he had hoped, she suddenly grinned meaningfully. Must have been one big alien and a hard fight. Mrs. Tennyson. He blushed as he rubbed his nape, making her break into a fit of laughter as she walked away, waving her hand dismissively. Just be careful, youngsters. Don't let your teenage hormones take control. Leaving him to sigh with a chuckle. Busted already, huh? A woman's instinct is something else. Especially a mother's. Chapter 58, ch 55, Hocus Pocus, E10, yet another night and another city to visit. The group had arrived at New Orleans, Louisiana, and were on a guided tour of a museum featuring magic and hocus pocus. But this time Shago and the pets hadn't tagged along. Shago wasn't one for museums, Tigress was as lazy as ever, and Zap wasn't even needed to be mentioned why. Ben and Kevin were messing around with the masks, but making sure to not touch anything after several warnings. While sucking on my lollipop, Alistair looked at the book protected behind a glass in interest. He always knew that he was power-hungry and was aware of the book's power. But for some reason he felt a special kind of attraction to the book. As if something deep, deep within him longed for it. The old tour guide lady spoke up, and behind this impenetrable glass is the recently discovered and only known existing copy of the Arcamida Book of Spells. Gwen looked at it with excitement and simultaneously explained with the guide, it contains ancient witchcraft and rituals from the later 1600s. Alistair was amused, but the guide not much. To Gwen's disappointment, she spoke snidely, maybe you should work here, dear. Ben jabbed her softly, whispering with a smirk, don't let mummy face get to you, she's probably older than that spellbook. As he imitated a mummy's pose in its grave, he managed to pull a laugh from her. But it was short-lived, because the light-hearted moment was interrupted by everything rumbling, before everyone in the room was sent flying towards the ceiling, seemingly magically. Panicked screams came from the people, but Alistair still nonchalantly enjoyed his lollipop with hands in his pockets. When he was in a leisure mood, nothing was pulling him out of it. Stuck to the ceiling with everybody else, Max grunted, something tells me this isn't on the tour. Alistair smirked, I'm pretty sure this place would be a lot more famous if it was Grandpa Max. Tuche. He mumbled as a red smoke traveled through the skylight window and to the spellbook, before materializing into a gray-skinned man in red robes. He held a staff with the carving of a bird's skull and a metal ring that ran through its eyes, along with a sort of necklace equipped with 5 special stones. As he appeared, Alistair's eyes, as if instinctively, moved to his magical items unintentionally. The same feeling of attraction, the same longing for the book seemed to crave what the magician had. And he found himself licking his teeth hungrily. Hex, the good old magician of the series, set his eyes on the locked book, the Arcamida Book of Spells, all of its power shall soon be mine. He made an incantation, Faciach Meduf, causing the carvings of the second rightmost charm to glow in yellow, before the impenetrable glass shattered into pieces, and the book to float to levitate into his hand. You two think this might be a good time to, Kevin mumbled, before the mouth of Hex's staff glowed, and the people began to fall sharply, get into action? Alistair smirked at the magician, you want the book? Get in line. Before both him and Ben transformed, Vicetipus/XLR8. His tentacles grabbed the people, before he crashed into the ground. His durability prevented any harm, but that wasn't the case for the museum and its content that began to fall from the small earthquake. His eyes widened, Ben, grab the stuff. I got it. Thankfully, XLR8 didn't argue. Opting to save the ancient items and letting Vicetipus sigh in relief, alright, so maybe there could have been a better predator to pick. Putting down the amazed/horrified people, he urged them to escape, alright, get out of here, people. Leave this to the professionals. Oh whoa, it's Predator and Savior. It's really them. They're here to save us. Look, it's Vicetipus and XLR8. They're in their alien forms. But of course, people being people, preferred to watch the show instead. Some even took out their phones and cameras. Much to Vicetipus's displeasure, fuck off already. Do you want to die in the crossfire or something? Ben, Kevin, get them out of here. On it. The boys said, before Kevin grabbed onto XLR8's arm and began to absorb his DNA. Although uncomfortable, Ben had already gotten used to the feeling after their many trials until Kevin got the hang of it under Alistair's guidance. After all, having full knowledge of his abilities thanks to Nemetrix's features, he knew everything about how an Osmosian's powers worked as well. Kevin's body began to change instantly before fully turning into a Kinoceleran. The two nodded at each other before quickly taking everybody out. Max looked at Vicetipus seriously, Al, be careful. You don't know what tricks he's got up his sleeve. As he nodded, he and Gwen escaped as well. Vicetipus looked turned to Hex, sounding amused, sorry, that book's not up for sale, unfortunately. You mind putting it back? Predator. Hex looked at him seriously, the famous hero capable of transforming into alien beasts. I'll give you an advice, don't get in my way. Otherwise, don't blame me for taking your artifact as well. Artifact? Ha 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 ha, dude, this is science, not magic. He snickered, causing Hex to growl. His second leftmost charm activated as he chanted, Bethi Mordornata. Flames erupted from his staff, setting the huge tapestry alight before it acted like it was alive, moving to fall on Vicetopus. Smirking, a red light enveloped him, Predator. Before he sprinted towards and up the wall to gain the higher ground. Hex was relentless as shards of red crystals fired out from the staff before exploding at the moment of contact. But against Predator's tough scales prepared to render Vulpamancers helpless, the small fireworks didn't even leave a scratch. Sticking to the wall with his claws, he let out a sinister screech of laughter before plunging his arm into the wall. Igrar! Gritting his teeth, he gathered his strength before ripping the giant wall down onto Hex with a loud growl. Eyes widened, bolts of electricity shot out of the Staff of Ages to destroy the wall. But as the wall disappeared into pebbles, Predator appeared right behind it, Grar! With a roar, he punched back Hex, causing him to step back as he landed with a sinister smirk. Ville créature! Hex roared, his staff activating as Alistair snickered, didn't like that? Then you're gonna love this. He quickly dodged the bolts of lightning one after another while attacking at every chance. You infuriating dash, a Hex roared, but was suddenly swept off his feet when Predator's tail crashed into his legs, sorry, not into monologues. As Hex floated in midair horizontally, a punishing punch to the face by Predator slammed him right back into the ground, knocking him unconscious and sending one of the charms flying away, which didn't escape his attention. As Hex's unmoving body laid on the ground, with a broken nose and teeth that he would probably fix with magic, Ben and Kevin finally came back. So what did we miss? Asked XLR8, and Predator smirked, just about everything? So is everybody safe? Kevin nodded, yeah, nobody got hurt. Good. He nodded, before transforming back, the police should be here any time now to arrest him. You guys go wait for them, I'll keep an eye out so this guy doesn't pull a disappearing trick on us. Nodding, they left as quickly as they came back. As Alistair stretched, his eyes were drawn to Hex's artifacts again. What is this feeling? It's like I'm looking at my favorite snack. As if it's some chili fries in front of me that I can't not eat. Gazing at them, he contemplated, should I just take them now? I was planning on taking them for myself anyway, since it would be such a waste to destroy them like in the original. But taking care of villains quickly is boring, so I was planning to amuse myself with them from now on. His desire twirled again and again in his heart, before he hummed, forget it. Since taking care of things is too boring, I'll let it play like the original. Before smirking as he picked up the fallen charm, and like the original, I'll be taking this one as well dash. But the moment he did, he felt something deep within him stir violently. His body froze for a moment, before he grabbed his chest with heavy pants. Wah, what the hell? His heart beat with a new vigor. Vigor he had never felt. It was like it was going to beat out of his chest, along with his head that started pounding violently. He gulped as he began sweating. What's going on? Bringing up his shaky hand, he looked at the charm with wide eyes. Something definitely isn't right here. A/N, it's what you've been waiting for, fellas, sparkles plot sparkles. Inside of the rust bucket, while Alistair was twirling the charm in his hand, Gwen seemed to be somewhat grumpy at Ben. It happened after Ben and Kevin basked in the attention of the cameras and news reporters. All I'm saying is that you don't exactly stop creeps all by yourselves, okay? She complained, I help save your sorry butts all the time, but does anybody notice me? Poor Kevin just sat out of the conversation, not wanting to get any negative points. As she sat with a sour face, Ben attempted to calm her. Hey, being a hero is not about getting attention. That earned him a few looks. Even from Zap of all people. A what? He frowned, but Gwen imitated him from before with the crowd of reporters. Who's your hero? Hello. Max smiled. I notice you, Gwen. Gwen, we're related, so that doesn't count. Shago smirked. Jealousy is an ugly thing, Gwen. Ben, that's right. No offense, but you throw trash cans and whatnot at the bad guys. That doesn't exactly make you a hero, unlike me. The sight of Gwen nearly popping a vein from frustration nearly made Alistair chuckle, but he held it back. Gwen, wake up. The only reason you're a big hero is because of that watch. If I found it instead of you, I'd be getting all the attention and all the cool souvenirs. As she looked out the window in annoyance, Alistair spoke up, then why don't you learn a thing or two from Shago? When they turned to him, he continued, although Shago does have some powers, they're not the reason she was one of the most dangerous villains of Earth, it was because of her skills. Maybe you can learn some things from her. Shago grinned, geez, boss, thanks for the compliment. Alistair smirked, you're welcome. But it's the truth, Gwen. You don't have to have superpowers to take care of bad guys. Just look at Kim Possible. She doesn't have a single superpower, but look at how many villains she has fought. That's true. Gwen hummed before turning to Shago, but will you really teach me, Shago? Shago shrugged with a smirk, sure I can in our free times. Can't let the boys have all the spotlight now, can we? Gwen smiled brightly, thanks a lot, Shago. You're the best. Shago smirked, I know. Alistair chuckled in amusement, and if you have good progress, who knows, maybe I'll make you a gadget or two. Gwen, really? Alistair, I said if you make good progress. So you better work hard. Gwen, you got it. Thanks, you too. Alistair/Shago, you're welcome. He didn't like jealousy around him, and he did feel a bit guilty for taking what should have been hers for a bit, so this was nothing. And besides, she was going to be a big help to Ben in the future anyway, so why not help her progress early on? By the way. Shago trailed off, catching his attention as she grinned mischievously, speaking of Kimmy, what happened to you and her? You know, after you got together with Jen. He jerked, before groaning, we don't talk about that. Chapter 59, ch 56, Charm of Luck, E10. With the night still going and nobody in the mood to cook, they decided to go to a restaurant to enjoy some shrimps. Knowing the powers of the charm and to use it as bait for Hex, Alistair had made a special belt to keep it around his waist, along with the other charms that he would get later on. Sure, Tigress had the same powers as the charm, definitely even stronger since he affected everything regarding his master, which is the reason why Alistair hadn't gotten into any governmental problems and his business had always had a smooth ride. But he wasn't about to deny even more luck. He was a power hoarder after all. And even if not for his habits, there was a sense of familiarity and hunger towards the charms that left him agitated when not close. However, none of that was important right now. None of them were at all problematic right now. What was problematic was the kid running around screaming at the top of his lungs without the parents sitting his goddamn ass down. Elbows on the table, hands clasped in front of his mouth, he looked ready to lose it all. If that little shit's parents don't put him down now, I'm going to put them all down permanently. Shago wasn't any different as she flared her nose. It's at times like this that I miss being a villain. If I didn't need to watch my behavior right now. Aha. Max chuckled awkwardly, well, that's just how kids are. Believe me, you'll experience it yourself when you have kids. The two side-eyed him simultaneously. Max/Grandpa Max, you're doing very well on convincing me to never have kids. As the kid screamed some more, Alistair could feel the veins popping, before he sensed something foreign, yet all too familiar, stir inside of him. Looking down, his eyes widened as the charm of luck began to glow, before he heard a pain scream and crying. They all turned to see the child on the ground after falling down, crying violently in pain. He didn't seem to have broken anything, unfortunately, but the sight of his parents finally cleaning the little bastard up caused Alistair and Shago to grin in satisfaction, finally inner peace. The satisfaction was in the air. Not just because of them, but from everybody else who had to put up with the loud kid and the irresponsible parents. Eating one of his shrimps, he patted the charm of luck as if it was alive. Good job, little fellow. Time skip no yotsu. Laying on his bed, which he had fitted into the trailer after expanding the space within using science magic, he gazed at the charm with Tigress laying beside him. This thing really is weird. Cool kind of weird, that is. Magic, huh? Well, I had definitely planned to learn it. I should ask Ken, maybe he'll teach me some things. But for now, La La Land, here I come. Putting the charm aside, he rolled to his side to sleep. But unbeknownst to him, the charm of luck began to glow, before a red energy surged through the veins of his wrist guarded by the Nemetrix, before disappearing just as suddenly as it had appeared. Time skip no yotsu again. Alistair stirred in his sleep, sweaty and panting as short visions appeared and disappeared in his dreams. But throughout them all, he could hear constant loud screams and explosions. Zava me. Attack him. Attack him. Stop him, he's trying to kill us all. Stop him. Gripping his soft blanket harsh enough to nearly make it rip, he heard yet another voice. But this time it wasn't a scream. It wasn't a shout filled with terror. It was a gentle voice of a man that calmed him down momentarily, the hashtag at $@. He woke up with a shout, panting violently. Sitting up while supporting himself with a hand on the bed, he felt just how much his sweat had soaked the bed. What was that? He panted, grabbing his head as a violent headache thrashed in his mind. Ugh, fuck. As he grabbed his aching head, he felt something nudging him. Igor. It was Tigress who had woken up because of Alistair's shout. But unlike how he would normally be grumpy for being woken up from his beauty sleep, he seemed worried for Alistair. "It's all right, pal. It's all right," he panted, forehead in hand as he patted Tigress. "I just had a nightmare, that's all. No need to worry." Tigress nodded, but sat by his side like a guard dog. Alistair smiled at him and took his time to calm down while petting Tigress, the action helping a lot in calming him down. When had fully calmed down, he frowned at the heat radiating from his forehead. "Shit, why do I have a fever? Or maybe my body is heated because of that nightmare. What was that anyway?" He frowned in confusion but jerked when he heard a loud explosion. Quickly running out, he found everybody already out before finding the source of the explosion. It was the construction site near them and they could see 2 workers about to fall from quite a height. "Time to report for duty." Ben activated his Omnitrix, but Alistair stopped him. "Forget it, I'll get this over with quickly." "Al? What's the dash?" Noticing his weird mood, Ben was about to ask. But before he could finish, he had already transformed and flown away as hypnotic. "Hey, over here. Zombozo." They heard a shout from a construction worker. He had been trapped under a nearly crushed truck after a beam landed on it. "Hey, for arms." Ben transformed. "I'll handle this." And as he saved him, Hypnotic got to saving the workers who were hanging on for their dear lives. "Aeon! What the hell is that?" One of them shouted at the alien insect, but Hypnotic, really not in the mood, just grabbed onto them and brought them to the ground. They thrashed around in panic at first, but stopped when they saw he wasn't harming them. After putting him down, he transformed back with a groan, feeling unusually tired. "I guess even the peak of the species can get sick, huh?" But his attention was pulled by the camera and news reporter that appeared out of nowhere. "Hello, Mr. Aliyev. Can I have a moment of your time?" He put on a smile. Yeah, sure. I got a minute to spare. Maybe this will help me ignore the tingling in my head. And besides, I have to make sure Hex catches the bait." Time skip no yotsu. At night, while they were on the road, Shago was on her personal super laptop, created by Alistair himself. "Oh, there we go. Boss, I found something." Alistair leaned over to look as she explained. "I looked into what that rock is after you asked me to and found some things. I cross-referenced the Arcamida book of spells with dark magical charms and look. It's a part of a set called the Charms of Bezel. That charm is a luck. There are also charms for fire, levitation, reincarnation and electricity. That book really was magic, huh? Yeah, I remember that magician wearing the others back at the museum. And for a good reason. Look. It says that for the book to be at its full and true power, all the charms of Bezel are needed. Aha, so I should have taken all of the charms instead of just this as a souvenir." Max frowned, "But I think we need to turn that charm into the museum." Alistair scoffed lightly as if instinctively annoyed at the thought of parting with the charm. "Yeah, over my dead body. What are they gonna do? Keep it behind a glass before Mr. Magician comes to take it again? If anything, me keeping it is the safest option." Ben looked at him in concern. "Al, what's with you today? You've been acting weird all day." Kevin nodded. "He's right. You're seriously moody today." "Shago, did something happen, boss?" "Hey." He sighed. "No, it's nothing. I'm just feeling a bit tired today. But it's the truth. You saw what happened with the Arcamida book of spells. He'll just go back to steal it again. Shit, I think I just jinxed it." And as if on cue, the radio came to life, and in the news of the weird, reports are coming in that the city's famed haunted history mansion has come alive, trapping dozens of visitors inside. "Aha, I just had to say it." Alistair groaned as the kids turned to Max. "Grandpa." Exiting the RV, they sprinted towards the mansion filled with screams and people coming running out of it. As they got in, they saw the structure of the inside moving around randomly. The pillars were getting ripped off of the ground, with the people on the staircase hanging on for dear life to not fall. It was as if the mansion had come to life, but Alistair's danger senses said otherwise. He turned to glare at Hex, who was posing with his staff of ages. "I knew you couldn't resist. Predator." And as his staff glowed, the mansion shook again, risking the lives of random citizens. "I'm afraid of heights. The whole thing is gonna crash down. Please somebody help. I'm not in the mood for your bullshit, pal." Alistair growled. "Shago, save these people as fast as you can. Ben, Kevin, stop this mansion from crushing the people." "I got it." They nodded, with Ben transforming and Kevin absorbing his DNA. But just as they got into action, Hex's charm of telekinesis, levitation, glowed, causing the shaking to get violent to the point that the structures were literally getting ripped apart. "All right, I like that one. Alistair hummed, punching away some wooden stairs that came flying at him. So let's get all of them. And he transformed, predator. You've picked the wrong day to fuck with me, asshole. That creature again. Hex glared, before shooting a bolt of lightning which he dodged. If that's all your magic amounts to, then you might as well just give up before you get an even worse beating. I'll make you regret saying those words. He growled before Predator's senses picked up a pillar flying at him. Sensing Max and Gwen behind him, he growled, "Run, you two." To not let them get crushed, he rammed the pillar with a bear hug and a loud roar, "Jar!" Gritting his teeth as his scales began to crack. A pillar falling on him wouldn't normally deal too much damage, but the full weight of a giant pillar getting thrown at him harshly was different. It was the first time his scales while as Predator had gotten that damaged. As he struggled to keep the pillar at bay, his senses went blaring as another came flying at him. "All right, now that's too much." He groaned before smirking, "Is what you thought I'd say. I may not be a magician, but I've got a few tricks too." Before his tail smacked the Nemetrix symbol around his neck. The red light began to travel through him from the Nemetrix, causing his body to grow bulkier. His scales gained even more protrusion, whole crystal-like red horns began to appear on elbows and shoulders, with 2 actual horns sticking out of his head. But most notable changes were the large wings and the spear-like end of his tail. He looked like an actual eyeless dragon. Evolved Vulpamander abilities. Supernatural strength. Supernatural speed. Supernatural durability. Supernatural stamina. Supernatural agility. Supernatural reflexes. Supernatural equilibrium. Regenerative healing factor. Extra Appendage Generation. Biomass absorption. Damage empowerment. Energy absorption. Projectile scales. Exploding scales. Electric scales. Paralyzing scales. Vaporizing scales. Atomic scales. As the pillar came flying, 2 extra arms appeared from his back to stop it. He turned to Hex, grinning sadistically, "You're in for it now." Chapter 60, ch. 57, Ultimate Predator vs Hex E10, let's take this in private. Predator growled before sprinting towards Hex. Frowning, Hex threw a barrage of attacks, from bolts of electricity to fire beams and sending pillars and the content of the mansion at him. But none fazed Predator. Whatever came flying, he either destroyed it or took it without flinching. For a beast like Predator, the ability to absorb damage and empower himself was one of the most suitable abilities. Meow meow motherfucker. When he reached Hex, it was too late for him to escape. He only managed to create a barrier before Predator's fist came crashing, but his barrier barely did anything before shattering. It did, however, absorb most of the impact. As the beast's punch landed on his face, Hex was sent flying out with a yell of pain. Predator followed after him, jumping out of the window Hex broke through to enter the mansion's courtyard. Hex was laying on the ground, before rising to his feet and leaning against a tree. Groaning as he glared, "You vile beast. I'll send you to the depth of the underworld. Cuckoo, your performance so far hasn't proved that you've got what it takes, pal." Predator snickered, causing Hex to glare even harder. "You dare mock me, the master of magic? I'll make you pay for toying with me." His charms glowed along with his staff before he began chanting and struck the staff of ages onto the ground. Red mist began to emit from the staff and enter the noses of the gargoyle statues, causing them to come alive. Eyes lighting up in red, they began to attack Predator, but he laughed. "Fun party trick, but it won't be enough." As the statues came running at him, he sprinted towards them himself. The small gargoyle came flying at him, but he headbutted into flying away instead before the giant of the 3 gargoyles tried to grab him. They interlocked hands, trying to push each other back before the medium-sized one attacked from behind. It managed to bite and slash at him, but it only resulted in its teeth and claws shattering. As it looked at its claws in confusion, 2 extra arms came out of Predator's back, grabbing onto its tail before crashing it into the giant gargoyle. Taking advantage of the opening, he roared at the giant one, "Jar!" before they both opted to bite each other. But Predator was faster as he bit the other's neck and raised him into the air before swinging him around. Several more arms came out of him before elongating to grab its limbs and head and ripping them clean off, opting to crush them in his hands afterwards. "Igrar!" The medium-sized one roared, biting his arms before Predator crashed it into the ground and punched it into oblivion. "Igrar!" The smaller one came flying back, but he didn't even spare a glance before his tail obliterated the flying stone pest. "Time to put an end to this foolishness." Predator growled at Hex, who stepped back with a sweaty face. "Don't think you've won, beast." "Ayo, but I already have. You just don't know it yet." As he sprinted at him, Hex attacked with several magical attacks. But this time, instead of taking them head-on, his scales shot out to create a barrier in front of him, blocking the magical beams before Predator appeared in front of the panicking Hex. Now how about I help you in pulling a disappearing trick? As he punched him like he did the first time, Hex crashed into the ground harshly, teeth flying out and blood spilling from his mouth as he laid on the ground unconscious. And that's that. Predator smirked before hitting his Nemetrix symbol and turning back to Alistair. Now for the important stuff. Reaching down, he grabbed all of Hex's artifacts. His Staff of Ages, Charms of Bezel, and the Arcamida Book of Magic. I'd be brain dead if I let some fucking museum have these babies dash. But the moment he grabbed them, the same feeling inside of him stirred again, more violent than ever, and causing him to lean against somewhere while holding his chest as he gasped, yeah, no doubt about this isn't some sort of sickness. It definitely has something to do with my real body that I can't turn back to. But what is it? Considering my reaction to magical items, it probably is a species related to magic. Is it maybe related to the Ledger Domain, the realm of magic? It's where all the magic of the universe flows from and where Hex, Charmcaster, and other magical beings come from, but I've got a feeling that's not it. Was I originally an Anodite? It makes sense, considering how the Nemetrix hasn't copied the DNA of neither this universe's Gwen or Jen's universe's Ken. I thought it was because of how Anodites literally lack DNA, but maybe it's because I already am one. Or maybe... He chuckled at the possibilities before breaking into a fit of laughter as he stood straight. Oh, who cares? Only time will tell when the plot comes knocking. But for now, how about I learn some magic instead? Ken will hopefully help me. Chapter 61, ch 58, Jen wants attention, Fluff Edition, warnings, Fluff. Word count, 1k. So to control mana you need to. Sitting with the trio in Jen's house, while her and Ken's parents had gone on a trip by themselves, Alistair listened to Ken as he taught him about magic. That's right. So first you. While they were learning, with Ken teaching him diligently, Jen and Kavina were watching TV. Jen, however, didn't seem to be enjoying it much. She groaned, I'm bored. Kavina hummed, barely paying attention as she sipped on her soda. I can see that. Jen, he finally came here, so why did he have to study? Kavina, maybe it's because magic is useful. Jen threw her head back over the back of the couch. Ugh, but we could be having fun instead. Kavina smirked. Yeah, I bet he'd love to have fun with you too. Jen's face twitched, blushing slightly. Not like that, you pervert. I meant as in hanging out, or gaming, or going to the smoothies, or kicking some villain butt. Studying doesn't fall in the category of fun. Kavina, not even magic? Jen sighed depressingly. Studying is studying. Magic or math, they're both boring. Glancing at the back of Alistair's head, she glared and pouted. If he doesn't hang out with me willingly, I'll make him hang out with me then. How mature. Kavina sipped on her drink again as Jen rose to her feet and walked up to Alistair. Hey, babe. Hey, baby. What's up? Alistair smiled, pulling his attention away from the magic book in front of him to Jen, who smiled. Aren't you guys done yet? Ken deadpanned. Done? We've barely started. Jen whined. What? But you've been at this for so long already. Ken, huh? Have we? Alistair, time really does fly when you're having fun, huh? Ken smiled. That's true. I didn't expect teaching magic to someone would be so fun. Especially when they're actually paying attention. As he looked at them, Jen and Kavina quickly looked away awkwardly. Pouting, Jen hugged Alistair from behind, hugging her face in his soft hair. Babe, come on. Isn't that enough studying for now? I'm bored here. Chuckling helplessly, he turned to Ken. Ken, is it all right if we took a small break? Because I don't think Jen is going to let us study in peace at this rate. You've got that right. Setting her chin on his head, she grinned cheekily at her cousin. So you better end this class before I annoy the heck out of you both every second. Ken sighed with a smile. Fine, fine. I guess we can take a break so Jen won't feel lonely. Yes. Jen pumped her fist in victory, causing Alistair to chuckle. Geez, this is important, you know? But you just gotta have all of my attention all to yourself. Standing up, Alistair picked her up bridal style in one swift move, making her yelp before she laughed. Babe. Put me down. He grinned. Why? You wanted my attention, didn't you? Well, you have all of it now, so just enjoy it. Carrying the giggling Jen to the couch, he sat down and sat her on his lap. Loving the feeling of her fat ass on his lap as she squeezed into him lovingly. Ken joined them on the couch, sitting between Alistair and Kavina. While smiling to herself, Jen noticed something. Huh? Babe, do you have a fever? Sitting up, she checked his forehead. Yeah, you definitely have a fever? You allricht? Her worried look warmed up his heart, causing him to smile as he hugged her into him again. Yeah, I'm all right. It's just, you remember how I told you I came from space with the watches and that I don't have any memories? Yeah, why? Does it have something to do with that? Yeah, and it definitely has something to do with magic. When I got my hands on the artifacts of that magician, Hex as you called him, something inside of me reacted pretty intensely. I'm good now actually. At first I got one hell of a fever at night before recovering. Along with visions of destruction and screams. There was also someone that I think called out to me, but I can't remember what he called me. The place was silent before Kavina tightened her lips. $10 on him being Space Hitler? Hey Kavina! Jen glared, but Kavina just shrugged awkwardly. Alistair didn't take offense though. Instead, he laughed. Ha 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 ha, actually, I have a feeling that's not unlikely. I mean, considering my personality, being a villain is probably what had happened. Hey, there's nothing wrong with your personality. Jen argued, but Alistair smirked. Tell me though, what would you do if I did turn out to be a villain? Jen smirked, giving him a confident look. Then I'll just turn you good again. He smiled in amusement. You seem pretty confident. Of course I am. It wouldn't be the first time. Do you have any idea how many times Kavina has gone villain just for us to turn her into a good guy again? That's different though. She's an ally turned evil then back to good. I would be a villain turned into an ally then back to a villain. Excuse me, did you forget that Kev was a villain at first too? One of my most annoying ones at that. Kavina raised an eyebrow. Annoying? I'd call it one of the strongest villains. Jen scoffed. Nah, just annoying. Anyways, the subject isn't about you. Point is, even if you did turn into a villain, I'd still manage to find a way to get you back. You can be sure about that. Alistair couldn't help but chuckle as he kissed her forehead. Fair enough, love. Fair enough. Chapter 62, CH59, Drama with Kim Possible, E11 Alistair. Hey, Jen. Jen, what's up? Alistair, so last names are generally about what someone's ancestors and stuff did, right? Jen, yeah, think. Why? Alistair, what does Dickinson mean? Jen, oh God. Alistair, you humans are disgusting. Huff huff fuck. Alistair cursed, so done with his fever and panting that seemed to only get worse by the day. I swear, if this all isn't worth it. His head ached and worst of all, his body was beginning to ache too. It didn't really hurt, just ache, and that's what made it annoying. And in hopes of helping him relax and have fun, they all had gone to a famous water park called the Riptide Rapids. Ben and Gwen looked at the enormous waterslide excitedly, Kevin tagging along with them. Ben, 6 stories of twists and turns. Gwen, hotling down a 200 Fot Plunge. Kevin, at speeds of over 25 miles per hour. Gwen, then, splashed down in a churning 300,000-gallon wave pool. You've entered the Riptide Rapids zone. They high-fived simultaneously before dashing inside excitedly. They sure are excited. Shago, wearing a green and black bikini that revealed her sexy body, chuckled in amusement. Alistair in a swimsuit beside her nodded, trying to ignore his body's ache. They sure are. Aren't you supposed to be excited too? Weren't you 10 just a while ago? In case you've forgotten, my mentality changed according to my physical appearance. If I say, turned my human body into that of a 30-year-old, I would probably treat Ben like a son rather than a friend. But I do get you. People really forgot or just don't care about my age. Especially the thirsty ones in my comment section, Jesus Christ, asterisk. I mean, people do tend to forget when checking your body. She bit her lip, eyes moving from his muscles down to his crotch, where a very noticeable bulge had formed, pulling the attention of every woman around. How about we have a little fun? She flashed a sultry smile, placing a hand on his firm pec, just a little boss and assistant get-together fun. What do you say? Alistair, of course, liked the praise and attention. He wasn't impotent. But he wasn't some unfaithful MC who couldn't give his love a reason to trust him. Grabbing her shoulders, he gently pushed her away. Sorry, Shago, but I'm taken already. And in case you didn't know, I'm as faithful as I'm badass. He meant every word. In fact, even though a gorgeous and sexy girl like Shago was half naked next to him, he hadn't looked anywhere but her eyes. Jen had put her trust in him, and he was going to make sure she wouldn't regret it. And besides, Jen was a lot hotter than Shago or any other girl he had seen. Not even Kim, who was currently in the pool, could compare. Oh wait, what? He had to double take when he saw Kim Possible, also in a bikini, swimming in the water. And when they locked eyes, his eyes widened in cringe. Shit, here comes the drama. I came for some action, Shago grinned mischievously, but I'm gonna stay for the drama he. Earning a salty glare from Alistair. Hello Al. Kim concerned him to a wall, trapping him with her arm beside his head as she smiled in irritation, glad to see you again. After you dine and dashed my body. In his defense he did feel guilty enough to not be able to look her in the eye. So it was a struggle where to look. But of course, instead of her bikini-clad chesticles, he chose to just look in a random direction. Alistair, look I'm sorry, alright? I let my horniness take over me, and my evil side took advantage of that too, you know. I know what? Impale me with a fucking spear for a dick? Ahem, yeah, but in my defense it was my literal evil side, not me as a whole. But hey, we both enjoyed it and had fun, so you can't be angry either. Alistair, the fact that I had fun is what's the problem. You see, I enjoyed it. A bit too much. She suddenly palmed his junior, making him jump as her irritation turned into a lustful, almost desperate look. You asshole, do you think it's fair for me to fuck me like that and just throw me aside? Do you think I can ever forget what I felt that day? Do you have any idea what I've gone through after not being satisfied once, no matter what I do after you absolutely obliterated my poor pussy dash? Oh, whoa. Alistair gently pushed her away. Listen, Kim, I'm sorry, but I'm already taken, alright? And believe it or not, there's no way in hell am I betraying my lover's trust. Kim frowned. It's that girl from another universe, right? Ben's alternative female version, Jennifer? Before grabbing his hand, despite him frowning in disapproval, come on, Alistair. She doesn't need to know. And do you honestly think I'll believe that she's better than this? She presented herself, hand moving up and down her body. Due to him refusing to upload any recording related to Jen's universe, other than that it existed and he got a liver there, much to the fans' disappointment, many people didn't know about Jen's appearance at all. So it was understandable that Kim, a very gorgeous girl who few people could match against in terms of appearance, would underestimate Jen. Alistair's face twitched and with a frown he freed his hand roughly. Annoyed about her suggestion and her ridicule towards Jen, first of all, not happening. Second of all, you'd be surprised. That's enough, Kim. You're making yourself look bad. Don't get me wrong, you're very beautiful and I would have loved to date you. But as luck would have it, I met Jen instead. And believe me, I couldn't be happier for that turn of events. So sorry to tell you this, but I'll have to refuse. Now if you'll excuse me. Alistair, wait. Kim reached out nervously, but a hand coming out of a portal and grabbing her wrist surprised them both. But even more surprising, especially to Alistair, was that Jen walked out of the portal with a satisfied smile. Sorry, girly, but he already said he's taken. Jen? What are you doing? Oh. But his confusion was solved when female Dr. Paradox appeared beside him. Hello, Alistair. A pleasure to meet you again. Happy to meet you again, Doc. He nodded, but what's going on here? Why are you two here? Jen smiled at him. Oh, it's nothing. I just sensed a bitch trying to mess with my man. Alistair frowned in confusion. You, what? She shrugged. Call it a woman's intuition. Nah, that ain't no intuition no more. He mumbled under his breath, that's a superpower at this point. And now as for you. Her smile turned into a scowl as she pushed away Kim's hand roughly. Hasn't anybody taught you not to touch what's others? He already told you he's taken, didn't that give you the signal to back off? Don't think I didn't see what just happened, bitch. I saw everything that happened there thanks to Doc, so don't even try to fool me. So you're Jen? Kim crossed her arms, taken aback by how formidable her opponent's beauty and assets were. Jen crossed her arms as well, making her large breasts stand out even more and making Kim's face twitch, the one and only. Now what the hell do you want from my man? What, not enough fish in the sea? You had to come and make an embarrassing display of trying to steal my man when I got to him first? Ever heard of first come first serve? Kim scowled back. If first come first serve is right, then you're the extra, sis. Because not only did I meet him first, we've even fucked already. And if you think that's a lie, you can ask Alistair yourself. Jen's face twitched before she looked over her shoulder and glared, is that true? And seeing Alistair looking away awkwardly gave her the answer, we're going to have a talk. Later and in private. So that means it's none of your business, Kim. Her sharp eyes turned back to Kim, who flinched under her glare. As easygoing as Jen acted, years of fighting intergalactic warlords and armies had made her quite intimidating. She only needed to let it out. A/N, seriously, remember that episode where Ben acted as a villain in Alien Force? Really makes you feel relieved, because he was fucking menacing, dude. I don't think even Vilgax would want to fuck with him if he acted that way, lol. And right now she wasn't in the mood for giggles. All I know is that he's currently mine, so you better piss off before I let Wrath handle this situation. And believe there won't be much left of you to regret it if that happened. Oh, whoa, girls, chill out. Shago popped out of nowhere, trying to put space between the two. Listen, there is no need for this to get ugly, alright? Any uglier than it is anyway. And you are? Jen narrowed her eyes, managing to make even Shago nervous. She cleared her throat, stretching a hand with a friendly smile. I'm Shago. Alistair's assistant. Pleasure to finally meet you, he really can't stop talking about you. Jen eyed her hand before shaking it, much to Shago's relief. Yaha. Nice to meet you too. And I hope you keep helping my boyfriend. As just an assistant, of course. Shago smiled nervously. Ahem, of course. You don't even need to say that. But Jen eyed her like a hawk. No, I'm pretty sure I do. Making her smile get even more nervous. Poor girl was starting to sweat. Jen was making her more nervous than any supervillain she had met. Ew, anyways. She gulped. Look, how about we solve this like civilized women? No need for violence. I'm pretty sure you wouldn't want your boyfriend's reputation to be damaged, right? Jen narrowed her eyes, crossing her arms again. Yaha? And what do you propose we do? The way her voice lacked any cheerfulness, despite it being there even against villains, made even Alistair nervous. Not just because she was his girlfriend, but because he was genuinely aware and cautious of her strength. The girl was literally the strongest being in all of fiction. And if that girl stopped being nice, may some omnipotent being have mercy on the poor soul that got on her nerve. Shago, you okay? Look. So we all know and can agree that Alistair is one hell of a horn dog dash. Veins popped on Jen's face. If you're proposing for him to get a second girlfriend, then Wrath, or Menace as Alistair calls it, would really wanna have a conversation with you. Shago panicked. What? No, hell no. That's not what I meant. Look, what I mean is Alistair is extremely horny and definitely has a lot of fetishes, and you, as his girlfriend, probably know that. I mean, he doesn't really hide it. And just like any other guy, I'm sure he has thought of a threesome, at least, once. And as you can see, poor Kim here is acting like she has taken a drug and she's desperate for more. So how about you just do a one-time threesome? Just once. Alistair will have one of his fantasies fulfilled, he'll love you even more for making his fantasy a reality, and poor Kim here will get some relief. How about it? With the way Jen's eyes narrowed, she obviously didn't seem much of a fan of the idea. But with the way she didn't refuse instantly, she seemed up for some convincing. Chapter 63, ch 60, S a foursome P1, third S a E11, pairing, Alistair x Jen x Kim x Shago. Warnings, foursome, Dom A towards all, Dom J towards K and S, sub K, sub S, bit of girl-on-girl action, cock worship, blowjob. I can't believe we're actually doing this. Back in his trailer, Alistair sat on his bed while the three girls looked at him hungrily. Even Jen, who was against the idea before, found the situation hot as hell. Shago smirked, eyes hot and heavy on the bulge that was beginning to get bigger in his swimsuit. Are you complaining? He narrowed his eyes, flashing a toothy smirk. Wouldn't catch me dead doing that, hun. Causing her to huff an amused scoff. Supporting himself with his hands, he leaned back on the bed, giving the girls an even more mesmerizing view of what they were going to get. And while Jen and Shago were staring at him hungrily, body hot and horny, Kim was definitely the most affected. She was visibly desperate for his body. Her panting, her pleading gaze, her small bit of drool all showed her absolute thirst for him. She was so thirsty she wanted to drown in his love. And was Alistair someone to deny his partner pleasure? He grinned seductively, giving his head a sharp shake to flip his hair. Are you girls gonna stare all day? Because I'm sure none of us are gonna be satisfied with just that. Ew, that's for sure. Shago bit her lip. Then how about we give you a show as well? Ha girls. Getting behind Jen, she hugged her waist, surprising her. You know, boss, I don't blame you for getting with her. I mean, just look at these. She gently groped her large breasts, and Jen allowed herself to let out low moans as Shago massaged them softly. Good God, hers are even bigger than mine. Alistair's grinned, cupping his excited member. Hey, now be gentle with my treasures there. You better not treat them roughly. Oh, they sure are treasures. Shago licked her lips before planting a kiss on Jen's neck, making her hum in pleasure. And don't worry. I don't have it in me to put a scratch on such treasures. From the corner of her eye, Shago caught Kim staring, causing her to smirk. Hey, Kimmy, want a cup of feel too? Maybe if you make her feel good, she'll let you be the first one to get railed by Alistair's giant dick. And Kim seemed to love the idea. She glanced at Alistair's hardened but hidden member, making her gulp before she stood in front of Jen. And even though she was getting her tits massaged, the look she gave her through her nearly closed eyes wasn't so friendly. Even though she had agreed to this, it seemed like she was still feeling salty about Kim trying to steal his man. But she didn't deny her the chance to earn herself a good fuck. Closing her eyes, she let her head fall on Shago's shoulder, who was kissing and sucking on her gorgeous neck. With a gulp, Kim looked at Shago nervously, causing her to smirk before she grabbed the hem of Jen's crop top and pulled it up gently slowly in case she wanted to stop her. But seeing no resistance, she finally freed her huge breasts, which managed to make Alistair and even the two girls gulp at their bounce. Kim gulped again. Holy shit, they really are huge. Compared to her slimmer but athletic figure, Jen really was a lot sexier. Shago slowly grabbed her bra before lifting it and letting the girls really bounce. Looking at the perky nipples, Kim's mouth felt dry. Hesitantly, she reached out and grabbed one of Jen's breasts and couldn't help but lift it and marvel at its weight. Seeing that she wasn't met with any resistance, she got closer and planted a small peck on the breast she had grabbed, immediately making Jen hum. Pecking it again and again, her lips finally latched onto the pink nipple begging for attention. Ew, just like that. Jen moaned, arching her back to push her breasts onto Kim's face even more, urging her to continue sucking while Shago played with the other breast and nipple, gently kneading and pinching them to make Jen moan softly. But Alistair, despite loving the show, was growing impatient. He was horny, and he'd be damned if he didn't have one of them choking on his rock-hard member. You know, as much as I enjoy this show, how about we get to the real business now? He let out a hot groan, making Jen grin. Somebody's getting impatient. He growled, I would be impotent if I didn't. Now bring those fine asses here before I do it myself. They shivered before Jen licked her juicy lip. Whatever you say, baby. Freeing herself from Kim and Shago's hold, she took off her shirt and bra completely before turning around and taking off her shorts. But she didn't forget to bend over to make that impossibly sexy ass look even sexier. Looking at her naked ass, Alistair, as a true ass man, barely held himself back from just grabbing her cheeks, spreading them and burying his face in that ass. She seriously did have the best ass he had ever seen in person or on the internet. Hey, now don't forget about us. Shago said seductively, making him look to see both her and Kim already naked. Although Jen was a lot sexier in his tastes, they weren't no jokes either. Kim, although slimmer than both Jen and Shago, had an athletic build that went well with her slim figure. But she had just the right amount of meat in the right places too. Her ass especially looked perk and firm. Her boobs, although not on the big side, weren't small either. Just the right size for her age. Meanwhile, Shago piqued his interest. Not only did she have a rocking figure, her unique skin color worked in an interesting way to make her look attractive instead of weird. And no explanations were needed for her big boobs and ass. She was the crush of many people in his past life for a reason. Discarding their clothes, they walked to him with swings to their hips. As they stood in front of him naked, Alistair couldn't help but chew on his lip. He was barely holding back while looking at their gorgeous bodies. Shago smirked at his gaze. Take a picture, it will last longer. He gave her a mean smile. Oh, I'll leave taking pictures for when we get to the real views that need pictures. You know, like when my cum is leaving your gaping holes while you cum your brains out. She shivered. Boss, you're really not making it easy for us to hold back. He smirked. Then don't. Why hold back when you can enjoy this? He palmed his erection. On your knees, all of you. With pleasure. Shago licked her lips, taking her place against his right leg as he spread his legs to give them space. The two teens weren't so quick though. Kim obviously wanted the middle seat if her pleading gaze had anything to say, while Jen was giving her an accusing look. But in the end, she rolled her eyes with a smirk. All right, fine. Stop looking at me like a sad puppy. And Kim brightened up like a Christmas tree. Thanks so much. But was interrupted by Jen grabbing her jaw and smirking evilly at her. But if you don't polish my man's giant dick like the treasure that it is, you better be ready for some serious punishment, you little slut. It was an interesting scene. Although Jen was taller than her by 3 inches, with Jen being 5 feet 7 inches, 173 centimeters, and Kim 5 feet 4 inches, 164 centimeters, Kim was a lot more fit, with far more developed muscles. But despite that, she still felt and looked so powerless against Jen. But surprisingly to even her, she liked that. And so did Jen. Kim let out a low moan, nodding with a pleading look. Jen smirked, gently slapping her cheek. Good, not get to it. Because you've got a lot to do if you want me to let you get stuffed first. As they got on their knees with Jen towards his left leg and Kim in the middle, Alistair couldn't hold back the lewd smile anymore. Fucking hell, this view is to die for. Watching 3 gorgeous girls on their knees, desperate for his and his dick's attention, gave him an unreal sense of smugness. If it wasn't for his swimsuit literally being the Tectrix, he was sure his erection would have burst through it already. You know what? You're right, Shago. He licked his teeth. I think I really should take some pictures. So eyes on the camera, girls. Turning the Tectrix into his phone, he took a quick phone, before putting it aside. Now, let's continue. Jen looked at him hungrily. Let's start the real fun, shall we? Grabbing his swimsuit, they began to pull it down. Their hearts pounding in their chests as more and more of his wide girth was revealed. And once they pulled it down enough, when the swimsuit returned to the Tectrix, his shaft sprung out, making them all, especially Kim, jolt as it slapped against Alistair's abs before slapping against Shago's face and sitting there like it's its throne. Their eyes immediately lit up in lust, and Alistair's could have sworn he saw hearts forming in their pupils as they looked at it hungrily. Panting and flushed, they whined as the thick, raw smell and pheromones of his junior invaded their senses, moving to immediately affect their pretty pussies. Finally face to face with what had given her the best pleasure of her life, Kim couldn't hold back anymore. With her eyes on Alistair, her lips planted an intimate kiss on the back of his member. Then another and another. Her gaze was hot, and she couldn't stop loving the meat rod resting on her pretty face. The fact that it was even longer than her head made it all the hotter, the heat radiating off of it making her feel like she was going to melt. Hey now, Kimmy. We promised to share here. Shago got her out of her trance, making her whine as she started planting kisses on the most beautiful dick she had ever seen. You can't just hug this glorious fucking dick all to yourself. That's right. We let you have it to yourself for a bit. Jen joined in, kissing the base while her hands gently cupped his big, full balls. But we're all going to be enjoying it now. But enough of that. Grabbing Kim's hair, she pulled him till her lips were on the tip of Alistair's huge dick. How about you start showing him how much you really miss him? Get to sucking, bitch. Yes, Jen. She gulped before opening her jaw as much as she could and taking his tip in. And when the taste of his dick and precum invaded her tongue, it was already enough to make her eyes roll back and for the ground below her to get wet. A good girl. Alistair breathed out with a smirk as her tongue started dancing around his member. Grabbing her hair gently, he let Jen's hand move to stroking his shaft while he guided Kim up and down. Just like that, baby girl. Just like that. This dick better be sparkling after you're done. Her speed slowly picked up, and so did her gagging. But she resisted and pushed more and more of his length inside her hot mouth. Her jaw was beginning to ache, and she felt like it was going to dislocate with how big he was. But the ache only gave her more pleasure. As Jen planted a sinful kiss with the entirety of her lips, she smirked up at him. Hope you enjoy this, baby. Because you're gonna need to pay back the pleasure in a bit. Chapter 64, ch 61, S a foursome P2, third S a E11, pairing, Alistair x Jen x Kim x Shago. Warnings, foursome Dom A to all, Dom J to K and S, sub J to A, cock worship, ball worship, blowjob, K performing, tit job, J performing, face sitting, J to A, oral, J receiving, tentacles, Tectrix, vaginal sex, K receiving, squirting, missionary position, mating press position. As the girls worshipped his length, Alistair's was left groaning at both the sensation and the view. The view itself was enough to send someone over the edge. 4 gorgeous women, all with voluptuous figures, and all of them on their knees and worshipping his member like it was their god. It sure boosted Alistair's god complex too. While Kim suckled on the crown of his sex, Shago was busy worshipping his full balls and Jen was giving him the best tit job of the existence. Feeling all the sensations at the same time was almost overwhelming. Almost. Kim tried to take in as much of him as she could, but could barely reach her throat thanks to his size immediately activating her gag reflex. But not wanting to disappoint, she persisted and paid special attention with her tongue, letting it dance and worship his crown. In contrast to the blowjob that sent shivers down his spine, Shago's act of kissing, sucking, and altogether worshipping his balls gave him a special sensation of relief. He almost closed his eyes at the sensations. But how could he miss such a view? Especially with what his girlfriend was doing. Feeling the pressure of Jen's big tits hugging his member, Alistair's toes curled, a lustful grin on his face. They felt so deliciously soft around him, yet the pressure of their weight felt so superb. Watching her white globes sliding up and down around him, he couldn't help but reach out and pinch one of her pink nipples. Jen immediately reacted, her sensitive nipples made further sensitive due to her tit job, making her moan in need. The pleading look of pure lust in her eyes made a sadistic smile form on his face. Grabbing her other nipple with the same hand, he pulled on them, making her moan and whine. Watching her squirm and twist her waist in search of relief fueled his dominant side. He gave them a sharp pull, causing her to let out a louder moan. Come here, baby. I've got a special job for you. Gulping and moaning in need, she stood up as he led her by the nipples, refusing to let go now that he had captured them. But she didn't get up without giving his enormous length a full kiss. If she had lipstick on, no doubt she would place a big kiss mark on it. He laid down, pulling Jen down by her nipples as she whined at the sensation. She didn't let her attention leave her grinning boyfriend though. Come here, baby. I want you to sit that fat ass on my face. She gulped dryly but let him guide her. The flood between her thighs proved she wasn't displeased with what was going to happen. She hovered the ass Alistair loved with all his being above his face while facing the girls that watched her in envy, giving Alistair a superb view. With a growl, he pulled her down by her thighs, making her moan immediately as he started devouring her wet slit. Oh fuck. Ha ha, that feels so good, bab fuck. Yes, right there. Her moans went straight into his junior, making it even harder if that was even possible. He was relentless in eating her out. Slowing down wasn't an option. Not when the full weight of her huge ass was on his face and her fattest cheeks were spilling around his head. The ass that he couldn't help but slap, making it jiggle and Jen moan. As he pulled her even closer, Jen's toes curled at the feeling of his nose poking at her asshole. Noticing the tightening around his tongue at the action, he smirked. Making a mental note of keeping her tight ring in mind too. He didn't stop, however. He would rather die than slow down on making her moan loudly. But with his skills he didn't need to worry about pulling out the sweetest of moans from her. And when he latched on her erect clit, that was all that was needed to push her over the edge. Oh fuck. Ooh fuck. That's it, baby, I am coming. As she trembled all over, she let out a loud moan and all of her sweet nectar on his face, mouth and that sinful tongue that she had to keep in mind to enjoy later. He didn't stop but did slow down. Letting her calm down from her high as she trembled and moaned on top of him. When Jen's orgasm was relieved, she was about to get off of him. But his hands holding her down and the grin she could feel against her bottom lips told of a different story he had planned for her. Not wanting to leave Kim and Shago out, he took the next step. Tentacles formed from his tectrix, connected to his nerves to make them feel like limbs and traveling down to their slits and making their eyes widen before they were filled with want. Another tentacle also came out, smaller than the rest and moving to another direction. It caught Jen's attention before her eyes widened as it pressed against her asshole. Wait, babe, wait, eep. Squeezing her thighs together while her fingers and toes curled on the mattress, her moans grew louder as it gently entered her tight ring. Seemingly already lubricated to invade her asshole. Her eyes rolled back and her mouth fell open at both the sensation of her ass getting fucked and her sex getting tongue-fucked at the same time. Moans and whines escaped from her one after another, each more sinful, more whorish than the previous one. He was treating her like a toy and she loved it. When the fog that Alistair had formed in her mind from his sudden actions disappeared, she noticed the two muffled moans coming from below. Jen gulped as she saw Kim and Shago, who were still worshipping his manhood, the one that belonged to Jen, were getting the same treatment as her. Well, except the tongue that she was growing to love. But looking at the thickness of the tentacles that disappeared below their shivering forms, she figured they also weren't getting their assholes pried open so deliciously. However, with how they were humping and jumping, and with how their eyes were rolled back, she figured they were enjoying themselves quite a bit as well. After all, looking at the thickness of their tentacles, she discovered that even if they were smaller than Alistair to prepare them for him, they were still thicker than average. Even if they were still in the foreplay, it seemed he was hellbent on making them lose their minds with lust. It was obvious to Jen, considering the tentacle in her asshole widening slowly from time to time, no doubt to prepare her even more. For what purpose, she had a feeling she knew completely. And it sent shivers down her lustful body and straight to her pussy. As they pleasured each other, minds clouded with lust, they all grew close to falling off the edge. Even Alistair's breathing grew rougher. Holy fuck, keeping sucking, I'm close. His groans motivated them further and they gave him a reason to fuck them even better with the tentacles. Considering the view, situation, and the sensations of both his dick and tentacles that felt like extra dicks, he was quite pleased with himself for how long he had lasted. And he could have held back for far longer, but why would he? He had 3 cock-hungry, thirsty for cum whores worshipping him. He didn't have any reasons to hold back, so he let himself explode his essence just as their knot spots. Loud moans echoed around the trailer, with love juices shooting out of their sexes. As his tongue lapped against Jen's beautiful cunt, his own nectar was released from the balls that Shago had so diligently polished. Thick ropes of cum shot out one after another. Into Kim's mouth, to her face, to Shago's blissful face and hair, and even to Jen's stomach and breasts with powerful pumps. His length thrashed in the former enemy's holds as it showered the girls in his essence, before finding them marked enough to stop. Once they had a moment to breathe, they thought he would take it slow. But boy were they wrong. Gently laying down Jen next to him, his tentacles roughly exited them, making them moan loudly as Kim circled her waist, while his hand latched onto her neck and threw her onto the bed. Her eyes widened in lust, still breathing heavily as she saw him stationed between her legs. His member still erect and ready to destroy her like the last time. Looking at his hungry, predatory eyes, she gulped down the cum that was still in her mouth. You were begging to be the first to get fucked, no? So you better be ready, because I wouldn't be able to hold back even if I tried. As he placed his length against her lips, she thought he would at least take it slow in pushing it in. But the foreplay with the tentacle was all that she was going to receive. Throwing her legs over his shoulder, he thrust it in mercilessly, causing her to scream out a moan. "Oh-fuck. Yes. Yes. Fuck me. Please fuck me, Alistair. Please ruin my fucking pussy, baby. Glad I made this trailer soundproof." She didn't need to tell him. He was going to reward her for the good sucking anyway. Holding her trembling athletic legs in place, he fucked her with such roughness, such vigor, that left Jen and Shago speechless. Holy shit. Shago gulped. She was into rough sex herself, but had never seen a roughness of this caliber. He was really putting that peak of humanity physique into action, showing why it's called that by breeding Kim harder than anybody ever could. Kim couldn't even moan properly. All of her moans getting interrupted by another moan and gasp as he pounded into her like a man possessed. His waist almost looked like a blur as his mast spread her lips to their utmost limit as he knocked on her poor womb with each thrust. With her body still sensitive from the intense climax with the tentacle, it didn't take even a minute before she squirted all over his member and upper body with a scream so loud their ears hurt. As she twitched all over, trembling violently all around, Alistair was kind enough to go gentler to help her calm down from her high. He was just thankful his mattress wasn't ripped from how rough she was gripping it. Once she was good, he started moving again after changing the position a bit. Missionary was nice and all, but he had always been obsessed with the mating press. So pushing her legs down till her knees were hitting his beloved mattress, he started fucking into her again. But not as roughly as before. Not so intensely. He gave her such inhumane breeding because he needed to relieve himself of some adrenaline. Calmed down himself, he began to breed her gentler. But with all that said and done, he was still rough. Still pounding into her till they were making the most sinful clapping sounds. Still making her moan like a whore. He was still fucking her roughly, but not superhuman rough, just normal rough. As normal as roughness was for him at least. Because he was still breeding her with such intensity that Jen and Shago were worried about Kim's sex and womb. They could only pray that she wouldn't actually be ripped. But even though they were worried, the scene was so filthy delicious that they couldn't help pleasuring themselves. Especially from the back view, where Kim's modest ass and tight pussy were getting pounded into oblivion.